Mike, I can't stand still. Okay, perfect. So what I want to get over today is 2.5 hours of real value where everybody is walking away with a very specific plan about what you're going to get in 2017 and 2018. And I don't mean something up in the air. I mean really quantitative numbers. I'll give a very brief introduction to me, a very brief introduction to Expert Dojo and what we do, and then we're going to kick straight in. So firstly, me, I see a lot of faces in here that I know. For those of you who don't know me, I've had 4 companies, kind of 5 if you count a shitty one, but over about 35 countries. So I've got a very good, and the reason I normally start with that is I've got a very good relevance to the rest of the world. So like if we're starting a company here, if we're starting a service company, I've done that. If we're starting a tech company, I've done that. If we're trying to see, is it easier in LA than it is in New York or than it is in San Francisco, or maybe in Israel, or maybe over in South America or in China or wherever else it is, I have a very good perspective on those different places. So those of you who are kind of thinking to yourself, how can I use Brian in the future? Then those types of things, such as different countries, different perspectives, I'm very useful for. After being in all of these different countries and having all of these different companies of my own, I arrived down here in LA and I was kind of horrified by the amount of startup failure. And even more so by the fact that nobody really talks about it. We have probably in entertainment, it's about 70, mid-70s% failure over a 5-year period. If you look at technology, our failure rate is up at 95%. And I don't want to start on a negative space. I want to start on a very positive space, which is that we wanted, and when I say we, it was me initially, but I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to try and find out and understand what was causing such a high level of failure, and are there specific easy steps that we could do to change it? And then I compared it with other countries that had low failure rates in perspective to what we had. I mean, countries like Israel, who, although I have no affiliations with, I have like unbelievable respect for their startup community, because they have accelerators that have up to 73% of all companies going into their accelerators still being worth over a couple of $1 million and plus 5 years later. Our ratios over here are like 2%. So I recognized we had a huge problem. We set up a place on top of the Santa Monica Mall, which was a 10,000 square foot facility, and it was really a lab. So we studied people, we studied entrepreneurs, we brought entrepreneurs in, and for the first 6 months, all we did was try to see, like, what is it? What's causing the problems? What are people doing? And so we would just watch people. We didn't have a prospectus, we didn't have a course, we didn't have anything. We just said, look, you can come in here for free, but we just want to study you, and we want to watch you, and we want to see what you're going to do. And we noticed that there was a couple of commonalities on what people were doing. And this was across the board, by the way. So we didn't just have entertainment companies. We had lots of other companies in there. Some pure tech, some social, some dating apps, some, great e-commerce companies. But every one of them were approaching it the same way. Most of them had read Lean Startup, the book, and most were approaching companies in a very similar way, which is, hey, you know what we're going to do? We are going to come up with a great idea. We're going to then put that idea out there. We're going to get a great developer. We're going to hire a really good marketing company, and we're just going to do it. And then they all failed. And I don't want to blame Lean Startup entirely, but I do want to put a lot of blame on the door of the philosophy that's behind it, which is that starting a business is not hard work. Starting a business is just about scaling really fast. Starting a business is not about having a great brand. Starting a business is not about having really strong milestones or really strong business plans. It's just about building a quick prototype and see how quickly that prototype goes out there. It's just the most awful, crazy philosophy I've ever heard in my life. And my belief is the only reason that it's popular in any way. And by the way, I'm the only person who thinks this. Outside Expert Dojo, everybody loves Lean Startup. But we just watched all these failures, one after another after another. Nobody was milestoning their business. Everybody would meet a marketing company, and the marketing company would say, we're going to blow you guys up. We're going to put you on the first page of Google. And they would say, awesome. And then they'd meet a development company. The development company would say, well, it's going to cost you $100,000 for an app, but wait till you see the prototype we build for you. It's going to be brilliant. And then 9 months down the line, they're realizing that they have their app and then they've got a 92 or a 93% fall off of any of the signups that they got at the beginning, or they have their website and all of the free stuff that they're doing is not converting into paid, or they have their service company, and because they haven't done the groundwork, they have a problem. So I wanted to put this context out there, because the whole philosophy of what I'm going to go through today is how to do the opposite of that. Is how to really milestone your way to a great marketing plan that you look at every single day. Like, I am so anal retentive when it comes to numbers. Like, every day, every question, everything for me, the answer to every question is a number. So even when I go home in the evening and my wife says to me, "How was your day today?" I'll say it was 227. And if I'm smiling, it means that they were the specific amount of activities that were required for me to hit the milestones that I knew was going to help me achieve what had to be done that day. Or maybe I would say it's 4, because 4 was the amount of startups that we had in our program that we had activities behind to try and help them to try and do. And I want to move that mindset over to you in the context of how incredibly difficult it is to start up a business. So after 6 or 9 months, I decided we've got something here and we can put together a great program, and there were lots of great people around us who we realized could help. And we had a lot of investors who would come in and say, look, we recognize that the environment right now between startups and investors is extremely toxic. So startups generally go to investors when you or we are not prepared. The investors will take almost a rock star status in the equation, which is not the way it's supposed to be. The startups are the ones who are the brave souls going out and creating this new world. We should be the ones retaining the equity in our companies, retaining the power in our companies, the control in our companies, and then the investors can come in afterwards and get a piece if they help us scale. But it's all messed up right now. What happens is we wake up in the morning and say we need an investor. And that investor will give us $1 million, and with $1 million we can do anything we want with our company. But because we have no foundation, we have no milestones, it doesn't. And then we lead to a place where the failure rate with venture invested companies is no better than the failure rate with non-venture invested companies. And even worse than that, and I'll give you a statistic that I just like to put out there because it's important and it puts into perspective the entire equation on investment. If you are a startup founder and you raise $500,000 or above through an investor for generally a company that has a tech component, so I don't mean like if you raise money to get a movie done, that's different. But if you raise money to get a company which has a tech component and the investor is putting money into that to try and get rewards in the future, the chances are, with a probability of 65%, that you will be fired from your own company within the first 3 years. Okay, so all I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying startup is bad. Startup is awesome. Like, I actually feel sorry for people who are not in startup. I feel that this incredible, creative, unbelievable flair that we have has been wasted for our whole lives by giving it to somebody else. So I love startup, but I want us to realize that if we're going into this, if we want to blow up our marketing, if we want to blow up our campaigns, if we want to get loads of users, then we have to get this foundational portion correct first. So we put together an academy which was really focused on making sure the milestones were in place, making sure that we had all of the branding was there, the product fit was there, the market validation was there, like all of the boring stuff before we got to development. And then we don't get to investment until we get to actually the last step. We then thought, okay, this is going really well. So now we created a venture studio. And the venture studio was when we would work with companies and say, look, we're going to give you all these services. You give us like a 2% stake in your company. We'll support you for a 3-year period, and we'll be your guardians, protectors. We'll give you the connections, work with the investors, do everything else. And then that went really well. And we got approached by a bunch of investors who said, we want to invest money into the Expert Dojo accelerator, companies coming through. So we raised a fund of $1 million, which we're allocating out to 14 companies in tranches of about $50,000 a piece over the coming year. And we've just opened up in New York and San Francisco and a bunch of other places as well. And just this is the last piece that we've put in place. And I'll spell why the pieces we've put in place are exactly important for the pieces that you need for your business to be correct. We're about to move from, for those of you who don't know where we are, we have the old Redmond Grill on top of the Santa Monica Mall. So the Redmond Grill was an old restaurant. It's right beside the Cheesecake Factory, and we took over that whole old restaurant. Whenever anybody comes in there, they're thoroughly confused because they're thinking, what the hell is going on in here? Shouldn't I eat something? And we go, no, we've got no food. And we had that for 24 months. And in those 24 months, we did 4 components that we knew were really important for startups. Number one, we made sure that the connections were there. So we started bringing in private companies within the sectors. So we would go for the Maker Studios, we'd go for the Kaiser Permanentes, we would go for the Cornerstone on Demands, the American Airlines, the Apples, everybody who's in the private sector who currently, and not these companies, but currently do not support the startups in the way that they should do. We brought them in and said, we want you to help our startups, in the form of getting contracts and everything else, including the local city. We also made sure that we brought in investors and we said, look, there's only one rule when you're working with expert dojo people, just don't be a dick. That's all. Like, don't come in here feeling that you're judging. You're not Simon Cowell on whatever the show is. Like, you're here to support and to help people who have an amazing vision for what they want to create in the future. Like, don't judge them, help them. And if you don't have anything positive to say, and by the way, positive could also mean close down your company, but not if there's 40 other people standing beside that person. It's something that's said afterwards in the right context. So we say, we want you to come in, even if you don't invest in this area, come in. So we have a very large investor festival, probably 80, 100 investors come from San Francisco, from New York, from Boston, everywhere. And those people come down, many of which invest in companies, and then many others don't invest, but they're here to give. So we have like Goldman Sachs come, but they don't start investing till $5 million. None of our companies are raising $5 million, but they come because they say, we want to help the companies at the stage so they can get to the level of $5 million. So it's a good feel for it all. But our next stage, the piece that we had missing, which is the piece that most of us of startups have missing, is the showcasing. So most of us, as our companies start to grow, we're hidden away in our little office space, or we're hidden away in a Starbucks, or we're hidden away somewhere else, and then nobody knows we exist until we blow up. But a lot of the time for startups, it's too late at that stage because we didn't make it. So we're taking on, do you remember the old market space in the mall? Anyone ever been there? It was like a year and a half since that place has been opened. They had this beautiful market where they had bread and cheeses and little wines and ice creams and everything. And it was an absolute failure, which is really sad because obviously nobody goes to a market space on top of a mall, right? But it was a nice idea. Anyway, they closed it down. It's been closed for a year and a half. We're now taking it over and we're going to turn it into a Willy Wonka's for entrepreneurs. So we're going to have a place where we can start taking everything that's within entrepreneurship and kind of add all of that wonderment into it, have the public that they can come in and they can see it on very select times. You know, we'll like play around with little, I don't know, golden tickets and stuff. We'll play with it as much as we can until we get sued for trademark infringement. And then but the idea is that our entrepreneurs get to showcase their great products and that we kind of subtly brainwash the public that rather than supporting the large corporations in your area who are not really even from your area, maybe you should be supporting like amazing apps that are here. Maybe you should be supporting great products that are coming out and great new innovations. So that's going to be happening. We're opening on the 15th of June. So that just gives you a context to where we are. Now, in those first 6 months when we were training people, we were thinking, what is the main reason? Yeah, we know a reason for failure is because there's a terrible relationship with investors. Yeah, we know a reason is because there are so many parasites within the local market who just surround startups, and whenever any startup comes in with their $50,000 from Detroit and they arrive in and they say, I'm going to change the world, there's like 400 people who are all surrounding them ready to take like $10, $50, $1,000, 5% of their company, 7% of their company, until there's nothing left. So we knew all of those were important. We also knew that a lot of the time things like branding is just not, our brand is everything. And we don't have time to do it today, but we do a lot of branding sessions, many of which we do for free because we believe it's so important. But your personal brand becomes your business brand. Like, you have to absolutely live what you do. And I'll give you an example. Like when we, I would say I believe that our whole business infrastructure is messed up. I believe that our middle America is being destroyed, and I don't mean like in some kind of stupid Donald Trump way. I mean in a really fundamental way that if you're a large company like Uber, you will destroy every single company in the car share ride, not because you're a great company, because you're not. You're led by some sexist, egotistical 12-year-old. So it's not because you're a great company. It's not even that you expand well. No, you lost $2 billion in China, $1 billion in India. I mean, seriously, if it was like a competition for failure, you'd be way up there. But because you have unlimited resources to destroy the local competition. And that was not what we were based on. On some levels, you could argue the same for Amazon. Not about the people are great, but about the fact that if you've got $5 billion to lose, yeah, sure, you're going to do pretty good. I think I could do okay with $5 billion to lose. But so we're in an environment whereby it's just a very difficult environment to be in. So your personal brand has to be very cognizant with your business brand. So because I felt this, and I had a challenge, right? So my one challenge is I know that without the investors, we can't provide the startups with what starves them from most once we get them ready. But I also know that the investment environment is destroying local business. So what do? Do I go in there and am I nice and I do the same thing? I can't do that because my personal brand is congruent with my business brand. So I did a TEDx talk, which was about how institutional investment are destroying the American dream and more importantly, destroying startups. You know what happened as soon as I did that with investors? I had twice as many investors come to our next event. And the investors said, look, we get it. It's easy for us to be perceived as sexist and racist and all of the ists that are in there, but we don't necessarily want to be like that. Just make it easier for us to find cool companies and we will invest in those companies. So my one thing, if you take notes and you're looking for just some real nuggets for today, it's not where we're going to focus here, but your brand, your personal brand is everything. And your personal brand and your business brand have to be out there on the platforms that are going to make a difference to you and your company. So branding is huge. We also knew that another area which is huge is product fit and market validation. So we have Jeff over at Priceline, the founder of Priceline. He comes into our place a lot and he'll teach our entrepreneurs and help them with individual areas. And he will always say, don't just market validate everything, but market validate it and then speak to your customers and find out what they're saying. A lot of the time we're tied into our own bubble on what it is that makes our product great. Like we wake up, I said there's like the 3 phases of entrepreneurship, right? The first phase is the first 4 months. We've just become CEOs and it's so awesome. And we get like business cards and t-shirts and like all kinds of stuff. We tell all of our friends and like we're like CEO and founder as if one isn't enough. So we're just going to go for it all. And then everybody else gets to be assistant for a little while until we can kind of measure up our ego. And that's the first 4 months. And then the next, from month 5 to maybe month 14, 15, it's full of frustration. Because everything that we thought was going to be easy is super hard. Like the website that was supposed to be easy is a nightmare because the developer is an architect, not an artist. So we've got like some big clunky building that looks awful, which is our website. Or it was an artist and not a thing. But it's hard. It's not our speciality. So we're stuck with it. And then afterwards, like the marketing people end up lying to us and not telling us quite the truth that we were expecting. And then everybody else who's around us and the people that were going to work for us, who were going to support us until our dying day, like disappeared the first time that they missed a bus. And then this happens all the way through to month 14. But it's okay because we're still entrepreneurs. Then we get to month 15 or 16. And now we got a problem because the people in our lives start to question. Right? They start to look at what we're doing and think, Jesus, did I marry the right person? You know, I've got this like obsessed, egotistical, just one direction, not going to do anything else, and actually he's earning no money. And I always used to joke, I got a little boy of 10, and he said to my wife the other day, he's like, he's gone, you know, it's not about making money, Mommy, it's about the journey. And she said to him, how many times have I told you not to listen to your father? Right? That's what we turn into, right? We turn into these journey people, but it's hard because before we had like 10, 15, 20 people, and they all believed in us, especially those first 4 months. But then we get to this last period, and now we have all these people who are starting to think, geez, I wonder how long this journey is going to last. And the 14 months and the 15 months isn't the impossible piece. Where it starts to get to impossible is 22, 23, 24 months. That's when you start getting to the stage where you start saying to yourself, God, I wonder, did I get it right? And the hard thing with that question at that time is it's too late. because you've already invested way too much into the company, yourself, your health, your time, your money, your people, everything. So it's too late. So where this big long monologue takes me to is the one area that we believe is the absolute most fundamental part of being successful in business, and whether it's growing users or anything else, and that is milestoning. And making sure that you take your journey from 22 months out and you bring it all the way back in. Now, what do I mean when I'm talking about milestoning? So, actually, just before I go there, let me just talk to you about the things that are involved when you are going to milestone as well. So, a milestone is a Waze map, by the way. It's a Waze map for business. So think of how you got here. When I was coming over here, even though I've been to the Skirball a bunch of times, I always go into Waze because I don't know what's going to happen on the freeway or on the motorway or anywhere else. So I just go Waze, I'll put in the address, and then after that time, how many times after that do I look at the final destination on Waze? Right, 0, right? I don't look at it. I just look at the next street, though. You look at the next street. I don't mean like I turn it off and I go away. I mean that if I just plug in Skirball Centre, after I've plugged it in for the first time, it doesn't show me the Skirball Centre again until I've arrived. It just says, go straight up here. Go straight up this road. This road is blue. Take Santa Monica Boulevard. Go up to the 405. I hit the 405. It says stay on the 405 for a mile and a half. Waze Map is the most beautiful milestoning tool that has ever existed. Because if it was telling us to go on the 405, what it does is, as soon as it sees the 405 is busy or there's a crash or there's something, it tells us to move off the 405 and take a side street. And we don't even have to think about the side street, it shows it to us. So I'm going to help you build a perfect, this is why I wanted to do the first hour at the beginning, because without these milestones, all you're going to do is you're going to walk away with great people that I have who are going to present, and then those people are going to show you how to blow up Facebook and how to do great PR and how to do stuff. But if you don't have the milestones, it's like saying I'm going to go to the Skirball Centre and I'm just going to drive what I think is going to be the quickest way, but I'm not 100% sure, but it's kind of up there, and I know if I go up there I'm going to be okay, right? It's like going from the West Coast to the East Coast without someone to tell you the direction you're going to. Here are the 4 components for us that really affect how you build your milestone map. So the first one is going to be the cash flow. So when we milestone, I'm going to get to the stage where we're going to talk about marketing channels. And you have about 14, 15 decent marketing channels to go after, of which a third of those marketing channels you paid for, a third of those marketing channels are absolutely free, and a third of those marketing channels require you to be pretty awesome. But all 13, 15 will work. If you don't have any cash at the beginning, it kind of rules out the ones which you're going to pay for, at least at the start. And then what that may do is that may bring in a component of investment afterwards. What's really important as a business is not to start with any of these things. Where we have to start with is how much revenue do we need to get in month 22, our month 12, our month 15. Like, how much money do we need? And then we're going to work our way backwards, exactly the same way that we do on a Waze map. But based on that, if we find out that we need more revenue that we can possibly generate from say, paid advertising methods, then investment may be an area that comes in that we need to do. The other area is competition. So let's say you are a car sharing company that you're trying to do something on. Like in our case, for example, we have no restrictions on investment, none. We've never taken any investment for ourselves. We've always been cash flow positive. We don't believe in investment. We believe it's generally only good if you're actually doing something special with the company. So the only investment we took in was the investment to give to the startup companies that are actually coming through the program. But investment itself, you just want to make sure that it's within the bucket. But if, for example, we were in the same space as Uber and we were trying to compete in car riding, we wouldn't have a choice. Like, our entire milestoning would have to be based on investment, because we would know that Uber, our Match.com, our whatever, our Amazon, if we were going to be a marketplace for goods and services, like if we were one of those spaces, we wouldn't have a choice. So you have to be really honest with yourself about the opportunity. Firstly, the inherent unfairness of the market. Like, I think I have 12 pairs of sneakers at home. And I got 6 in Sports Chalet and 6 in Sports Authority. And I think all 12 cost me maybe $200. Why? Because they got destroyed by Amazon, because they weren't able to get the right investment in the right place to be able to scale as they need to. So just be really aware of your market, really aware of your customer, and really aware of how can I scale and what are my inherent challenges within the competition itself. Team size is really important too. You have a bunch of options when it comes to team. And again, we're going to start with the revenue and what revenue we need to get in, but we have to make sure that we have the team who are properly allocated to do it. So I know what I'm good at, and you should know what you're good at. This is what I'm good at. This is my space. I'm very comfortable with people. I'm very comfortable speaking about topics that I feel are important. I have a good passion that go with it. But don't make me creatively build a flyer, because I will build something terrible. Like, it will be awful. You walk in. I actually did one. We had to do one for the mall, and I said to Dustin, who's my partner, and he does a lot of our creative over there, and I said, I got this. I'm going to do it. And the mall said, like, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. The brand on the front and on the back and on everything around it, it's like there are 5 different companies. And I said, I know, isn't that cool? And she's like, no, it's terrible. You're awful. And so it just reinforced like how important it is to make sure that you allocate the tasks that particular people are good at. And if you're bad at a task, so if cold calling, outreach, building new contacts is not something that you're strong at, but we work out within our milestone plan that it's really important, then we have to make sure that we build that into it. Now, maybe that means taking on a partner. So I'm not against giving away equity. I'm very much for building up a rock star team where people are absolutely in there to make sure they get equity. You should be really careful about it. And if you're going to bring in partners or people who've got different skills at equity stakes, make sure you get a lot of advice. Don't walk away here and say, Brian said I should give equity to partners. Like, you want to make sure you give the right amount away for the right currency, and you want to make sure it's vested over a period of time. I had one of our founders yesterday over at the dojo was talking about how do they get rid of an advisor who's got 1% of their company and has done nothing, and if anything, they're toxic in the company right now. So just be really careful, it's all tied in. And actually, let me give you a quick example of that just so you have it clear, because the team thing is important. Most tech companies on day one are valued at about $2 million. Now, that doesn't mean that anybody will pay $2 million. And if you're an entertainment tech company, it's the same. If you're a service company or if you're a product company, most of the time it's the same. And the reason that you get a valuation of that level is because investors need to make sure that they can invest a certain amount of money into your product that will allow you to stay in the company and actually want to keep it going, and at the same time give you enough money to grow the company. And what they want is, if it's a beauty product, they want L'Oreal to buy it for $300 million. So they're happy valuing you at $2 million as long as you can show a road that will actually take you, that you're going up to that type of level. So if the valuation of my company on month 1 is $2 million, and I'm going to give away 1% of that company, that's 20 grand. Like, I want someone to justify exactly what they're going to do for 20 grand, okay? But team is really important. So as you're going through it, make sure that you have the right team doing exactly the right things. So here's how you put together your milestone map. By the way, is this useful? Is it? Okay, cool. So here's how you put together your milestone map. Start with your revenue. So I would say different companies will have different things. Don't do it all in the first month. Start about 22 to 36 months out and say, for this to be, I had a friend who would say, which I think is too extreme, by the way, but I have a friend who would say, if I can't bring in revenue, now I don't mean profitability, it doesn't even matter actually if your expenses are the same as your revenue, as long as you're growing it and as long as you can reduce expenses in the future. But he says, if I don't have revenue of $1 million, then I am not going to, within 3 years, then it's not worth me starting that company. Like, I don't personally think that's necessarily the case. I think if you can get a company that you can build up in many cases, which is a lifestyle company that can bring in $300,000 and your expenses are $100,000, you're doing okay. Like, you can bring kids through school and have a pretty good life on that. But decide what your number is. Decide it based on the amount of work you're putting into the company, based on what the market's able to do, and based on realistically the activities that you're going to be able to do on a daily basis, what your number is. And then push it out by like 36 months. Then take a number. So let's say the number, I'm going to show you an example in a second, but if in 36 months, let's say it was $1 million, which is my friend's example, and we say within a year, we want to make sure that we're bringing in $50,000. Now you might say, oh, well, $50,000 is like nothing. It's not even on the road. But actually, it's almost harder to get from $0 to $50,000 than it is to get from $50,000 to $250,000. So you want to make sure that you're just really careful with your number. There's one thing you can't do. Like I left this morning at 8:03 or at 7:53. I'm sorry, and I arrived here at 8:32. The only thing that I can't do is arrive here at 9:02. Because I have to be here for this event. The only thing you can't do is miss your milestones. None of them. You don't want to miss a single one. You want to set them up so you hit your objective and you get your milestone. Now, you're going to say, I've got 4 numbers up there on the top, or 4 words. Revenue, users, prospects, and universe. Build it down on a very basic level. So we're going to say we want to bring in $50,000. $50,000 equals how many users? Maybe it's 10 users or 20 or 30 users, or buyers or clients or whatever you call them in your particular space. And then you break it down into how many prospects are you going to need to get that. So what's your conversion ratio? And here's the funny thing about this methodology is I'm not saying to you, do something new and different that's never been invented before. I'm saying to you, get back to the most important part of running a business. Like for everyone, when our moms and dads and everybody started their restaurants and shops, they said, okay, here's what my expenses are going to be this month. Here's what I'm going to bring in. Here's the activity I'm going to have to do. Joey, you need to stand outside the shop for the next 4 hours and hand out flyers because it's the only way we're going to get 14 people to come into the shop. That's what this is. Your revenue, your users, your prospects, and your universe. And as we break it down, I'll give you an example on the next slide, but we're then going to say, what are the specific channels that we have? And I'm going to give you a good long list of channels, and then I'm going to give you a really good feel as to how I use those channels myself. And then your plan becomes daily. It's like from when I leave my house, what happens for the next 100 yards and the next 100 yards and the next 100 yards. I can't just judge it based on when I get here and like a minute beforehand say, oh, we're going to arrive at 9:04. No. It has to be from when I leave. And I have to plan it out. So yesterday evening, even though I've been here a bunch of times, I still plugged it into Waze and I still plugged it in to see based on where it was going to be like at 7:52 this morning. So you're planning to make sure everything's ready. And then you execute it daily to make sure that that's done. Now, here's an example for you. So let's say we're trying to get $100,000 in August. Let's say we know that our average spend per customer is $1,000. Well, then we know that we need 100 clients, right? So it's nice and easy. And then we say, but I can't market to 100 clients because I don't know what that looks like yet. But I can start marketing to 2,000 prospects. They are 2,000 individual people that I have to have one-on-one interactions with. This is not a tweet to a following of 2,000 people of which one person actually looks at what she says. That one person fits into the 2,000 people who are actually in your prospects. But then we go back to the universe because let's take the tweet as an example. The tweet doesn't even fit into your prospects. It fits into your universe because prospects are people who have a specific need and a desire for your type of product. Right? They don't necessarily have to buy from you, but they have a specific need and a desire. They're not, and within here, maybe 10% or 15% if you have a specific need and a desire for our type of product. But I can't get to those 10 or 15 people without going through the 100 people first. You're exactly the same. So you have to go to your universe. So then you will say, okay, based on my universe, I have to pick out, I normally suggest 4 channels. It's very hard as a solopreneur or maybe 2 founders in a company to work on more than 2 channels at any one particular time. But if you have 4 channels, but on 4 channels because you need to be religious about how you do this every single day. So in this case, I've said, right, direct mail, we're going to mail out to 5,000 people. Now remember, these are not prospects. This is to my universe. And my universe are just people who are likely to be prospects. So if I was going to my universe, it would look like any entrepreneur. If I'm going to my prospects, they are early stage entrepreneurs between a certain age, of a certain gender, who have a higher likelihood of requiring the type of scale that we can give. But the universe is way wider than that. So we're saying direct mail 5,000 people. So I need 5,000 emails to arrive in that month. This is not my yearly plan. This is just what I'm doing that month. Now, I don't just want 5,000 emails to go through. I want 30 emails to go through on one day. Because I'm not just going to do like 4 days work and say, okay, we're done. I want to do it. I want to monitor it. I want to see who's replying. I want to A/B test it. I want to give that channel every opportunity of being successful. Maybe social are included as well. And again, when I say social, it's not just about putting a tweet out. Those people have to see what I send. So if I have Facebook and I know I've got, say, 15,000 likes, and I know that Facebook will only put it out to 1,500 people, then I know 1,500 people have had it sent to them, but probably only 200-300 people will have actually viewed it. So I'm looking at the views on my Facebook videos. I'm looking at who's seen what photos and who's seen what messages gone out. It has to get to 5,000 people. And then I'm looking at how is that broken down for today for actually what we're going to go for. Here's the beauty of all of this. When I do my activities on a daily basis, I'm driven by my activities, by the way. Donnie's over there. He'll be talking later on about direct mailing and how you do great direct mailing. But he'll say to me, like, I'll walk into my place some days and he'll say to me, geez, Brian, would you ever check the cleaners? Would you ever check it's done? But I'm so focused on business development. Every minute of the day is focused on development for our companies, or development for us, every single moment. And you have to get obsessive like that. And I don't mean like be as bad as I am about making sure that stuff is working all the time. You should make sure that's okay. But I'm saying move it to your primary focus. Biggest challenge that we all have as entrepreneurs is that we are creatives. So we create these amazing, artistic, phenomenal stuff, and then we stay in that place. And I want you to move from that place into a place where you're directly outreaching to people, and this becomes your number one task. And that way, you don't need to get to 22 months and have to deal with that stage of entrepreneurship. You're dealing with it at like month 10, 11, and 12. Whereby you're saying, okay, we haven't got enough users in, how do we get more in? Like you save, that's the whole objective here. We're dying as entrepreneurs because we can't make our runway. We can't make it to the place we wanted to make it to in enough time. This is nothing more than some steroids to get you really focused on getting to that space 6 to 12 months quicker. Nothing more, right? So these are the types of areas we've gone through. I've kind of grouped them in certain areas. I'm gonna flow over them, because you're going to have a great panel here and they're going to answer questions, but I'll try and tell you the things that are really important to us and what works for us. So partnerships and affiliates. I normally, by the way, when I'm talking about paid, we spent last year in Expert Dojo around maybe $200 on paid advertising in the entire year, maybe. We put it as the channel that we didn't want to touch. And we did that because it's the easiest channel. It's the channel that if we want to do nothing and not commit to a great marketing plan, we can just go to an agency, give them $5,000, and then be fed back with like a bunch of reasons why we're going to have this great company, it's going to do okay. And then afterwards, we find out a bunch of reasons why that we had lots of impressions and lots of people interested, but we didn't sell anything or enough, but it's okay because we got our name out there. So I'm never saying don't do paid advertising. I'm saying don't use it as a crutch. Make sure it is last on your list on top of building everything up, because the people you get from paid advertising are not your loyal users. They're not the people who love what you do. Those are the ones that you get from the other areas. So running through them, partners and affiliates. The difference between partners and affiliates are people who want money for selling your product and people who don't want money for selling your product. We probably have 400 to 500 partners in LA. Now, a partner is somebody who has a currency that is valuable for you, and you have a currency that is valuable for them. That currency that you have may be one contact which is valuable for this person, and the currency that they have for you is generally them increasing your awareness within a space. So for us, our partners are people who do events. Our partners are people who care about entrepreneurship. Our partners are people who are thought leaders within the space, who have similar perspectives to what I have. Our partners are people who are looking at what we're doing in the mall and saying, oh, this could be good for us. We're not quite sure why, but it could be good for us. We have people all day, every day, reaching out to potential partners and saying, you're in this space, we're in this space, we want to have a conversation. We're not quite sure where it's going to lay out, but we do know that we're close enough that we can partner and help each other in the future. And at a minimum, we should know each other. Now, those partners, when we go further down to influencers and industry leaders, those partners can be leaders in the industry as well. Sometimes these different channels flow into each other, right? But when we're looking at, you just have to be obsessive with a number. You can't say, we have this great marketing plan and we're going to reach out to a bunch of partners today, or I'm going to go to an event tonight and I'm going to try and meet some people. It has to be 5 or 7 or 12 or 2 or something, which is the amount that you're going to reach out to every single day. And you have to allocate these tasks to first thing in the morning. And if you can't do them because you don't have time, then you need to have other people doing them. What do those other people look like? They could be co-founders or people in your business. They could be interns. Like where's Oscar? There's Oscar down there, right? So Oscar just came over to us from university. He's going to intern with us over the summer. He's going to get phenomenal training. And this is the thing when you work with interns. So there's a few things that are really important. One, you have to make sure you comply with your part of the agreement. So they have to be trained not just as well as they're going to be trained elsewhere, but better, to a level that they become your biggest fan. Secondly, you've got to find a way to pay them money. You either pay them money in salaries or you pay them money in commission, but you make sure they're financially incentivized to be part of your company. But Oscar's reaching out to journalists, right, and podcasters and all kinds of people, which are things that I don't have time to, my team don't have time to do. It's not a full-time year job, but it is something that needs to be done. Where can you get interns? Like Santa Monica College, you've got great people. We've got a fair there this morning. You've got like all of the other universities, LMU, UCLA, USC, all of those places have got great programs that you can get phenomenal people from. But build up your team. Some people you'll pay. I would rather you allocate $15 an hour to pay a part-time person rather than put it into Facebook advertising at the start, because you'll build up a greater loyalty. Use people over in the Philippines. Like we have 2 or 3 people on tap all of the time in the Philippines, $3, $4, $5 an hour, and you'll get people to do very specific tasks. Again, there are skills required with hiring these people and having them on board that I don't want to move us off topic today, but happy to share with you. But you have to have a team to make sure that these activities are hit. There is no point in having good intentions. It's the wasteland of entrepreneurship. You cannot miss a single day, because it's going to take you to an important place. So influencers and affiliates, by the way, are a very easy sell. You're reaching out to people who are already selling other people's products in your space, and you're saying to them, listen, buddy, if you've got a course, you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you 40, 50% commission. No, who cares, right? You're going to build up your thing. If you've got a product, maybe you're giving them 10 or 15%. You're allowing for the margins that you have within your product, but you're working with all those people there. Industry leaders. We reached out to Elon Musk, I think 3 years ago. And Elon Musk didn't reply. Shock and horror, right? But now we're painting a mural of him over in the mall in our new space. We're going to have Oprah on one side and we're going to have him on the other side. And we're putting them up there because they're great entrepreneurs who in the initial stages did it on their own, right? And they're thought leaders and creatives and good for the future. But there's another reason why we're doing it as well, because it would be cool if we got Oprah and if we got him to come to the mall. So I'm just saying, be obsessive about every factor. Don't leave it up. Like I got one of our startups really wants Arnold Schwarzenegger to invest in their company, and they have cooked a schnitzel every day for 157 days, and they have videotaped that schnitzel that they made every single day, and then they send it over to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I swear, and now Len Lanzi, who's the head of Lava, who knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, says, look, I'm going to meet him in like 2-3 weeks time, and I'm going to make sure that he knows that you're doing this stuff for him, because this is just way too insane not to bring it over. So just have your very specific goals and objectives, and then just don't let up on them. Paid Facebook, paid Google, paid review. I don't need to tell you anything about that. Jason will share all that with you today. There's lots of tips and tricks to make sure that you get better returns back. But I have it there in the middle, not in the top, not on the bottom, but as an important area. TV, radio, podcasts, Facebook Live, conferences. You should be doing stuff like this. The first conference I ever spoke at was this conference right here, Digital Hollywood. And Victor Harwood, who's the guy who runs this conference, who's a beautiful human being, I shouldn't have been on stage. It was like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I'm not sure I had even anything to say. I was just like this angry, radical, repressed Catholic Irish guy. And I said, maybe I'll be entertaining. That's about all I have. But then as soon as I got my first conference, then 4 other conferences came up the next year because we reached out to them. Hey, I'm a speaker at Digital Hollywood, Very, very well-known guy. You should definitely get me over at your space. And then some other conference guy just doesn't have the time to check and find out that I'm really quite random and not that good, says, okay, cool, yeah, we'll put you over here. And then you get a second and a third and a fourth. And then what happens is you start to create a subject matter expertise, which is what your brand is. I cannot emphasize enough how important that space is. Conference, Facebook Live, podcast, TV, and radio. You're making sure that absolutely everybody knows about your brand and what you're doing. These are where your loyal customers are. Your loyal customers are not the ones you're getting on Facebook. They're the ones that you're building here because they believe in a purpose or a mission that you're putting together. Okay? Then go down to content marketing. I love content marketing. There's a guy called Joe Paluzzi, who I highly recommend you look at his podcasts. He's over at the Content Marketing Institute. He set it up. He's recognized. We have one of his podcasts. I interviewed him on Expert Dojo. We have one of his podcasts on Expert Dojo. But there are about 4 or 5 people that if you really understand how content marketing works, you realize it's way more than this. So if I was going to do a real content marketing on all of you, which is, we don't go deep into it because it's not our way, it's not our methodology, but if we wanted to go all the way in, what would happen is this. I would say to you, we're having a conference over in Digital Hollywood and it's absolutely free and we want you to join and come along. And then I would add you to our lead pages. And our lead pages would have 5 or 6 predetermined actions which are tied into it, which will make you, like me, more. Okay, and those actions will be things like, if you come to the conference, you'll then get another email afterwards, maybe 2 weeks later, to say, hey, I hope you really enjoyed the conference. And if you really enjoyed it, you should definitely join our podcast. And then the next one might say, I really hope, and now what's happening is you're building up a loyalty and an affinity to what we're doing. So now we're going to say, hey, now that I hope you really like the podcast, we have this great course. It's a free course that we built in place for you, which is like an 8-segment course, which gets sent out. It's all automated. It's put in place. Like, you don't need to do anything about it yourself. Now, these days, there's no hard facts on it, but before it used to be 6 or 7 touches that a potential customer needed to have to buy your product. These days, it's about 15 touches, they say. And the reason it's 15 touches is because you get about 50,000 competing messages every single day. Like 50,000. It's so hard. So for brands to get through to you, like it's even today, like you'll come to this and then you'll probably go to 1 or 2 other conferences and you'll do some other stuff there as well. And then you'll remember some of it and you won't remember more. So you need those extra touches. So by building a content marketing funnel, what you do is you're building a loyalty funnel for all of your clients all the way through until they're able to buy something. And then the end of the funnel is, hey, now that you've gone through the course, we have this other course which will absolutely blow up your business. Now you feel like you're my friend, that we know each other, we've been doing stuff for a long time, even though they're automated stuff that you've had through. And you go, oh my God, yeah, that value is so good. We definitely want to pay $1,500 or $3,000 or whatever it is. Content marketing really for your business is gold. Really understand it, get behind it, and then look at the different attributes of it and how you can use email marketing especially to tie into it as well. And PR, I love, like I said, one of the things Oscar is doing is he'll look at every article from every major writer, and then he'll write to all of those writers and says, hey guys, you messed up. You talked about great incubators. You didn't mention Expert Dojo. Now, 80% of those people won't write back and won't get engaged, but all of them will see it. And all of them will hear the name Expert Dojo. And it's the same with whatever widget you have, whatever movie that you're promoting, whatever that you're putting out there. You want to make sure that as efficiently as you possibly can, you're making sure that the word is being spread in as many different places. And the beauty about using all these channels is what starts to happen is people start to hear from people. That's the gold. Like when somebody else hears Expert Dojo or Radical, you got to go over there, then you don't need to say anything to those people. They're already bought into what your product is. Now, going on from content marketing, obviously builds in review marketing and SEO. For those, again, of you who are not really forcing reviews, you should. I remember when we started off, we pushed out, I think we had like 40 reviews. Anybody who would say something nice, who would say, please go onto our Yelp site and put a review saying what your experience was. And we would very carefully choose the people. So we wouldn't take people who would say, you guys suck. We wouldn't say, hey, you know what? Please go to Yelp and stick a review out there. We'd be very focused on someone would say, oh my God, this is like the best thing in the whole world. I can't believe my whole business has changed. We'd say, great. The only thing we ask is just go on a Yelp, put a review about Expert Dojo. We've never had anything less than a 5-star review, but you want to build that same methodology. And again, have it added in as an activity every single day that you're going to do. And then finally, I have, and by the way, on questions, the entire marketing panel is going to be questions. So I've allowed for the whole last hour, everybody will give a brief intro, and then you're going to take everything I've given you here, and then you're just going to fire it back at everybody who's on the panel, and we'll answer every question you have. So if you're just thinking, oh my God, he just talks a lot, it's because I want you to get this, and then afterwards just line up your questions and pummel us with them. Okay, so then the final one down here is direct mail, outreach, LinkedIn outreach. I have 9,500 LinkedIn contacts. There are 5 people who have my LinkedIn contact information. And when I say contact, I mean login information. I don't think, maybe I've sent out 3 LinkedIn invitations, but at least 50 to 100 get sent out from my LinkedIn profile every single day. And they get sent out to people who are relevant. So I don't think we did this year, but years gone by, we would have written to every single person who's speaking at Digital Hollywood. And we would have said, hey, you're a speaker, a very important person. I'm a speaker, I'm a very important person. Us very important person, we should know each other. And I know that I can't have meetings with every single one of those people, but I do know that they're in a space which is very important to me, and they're at a level of influence which is very important to me. So might they be partners? Might they be influencers? Might they be another conference that I go to? Any of them, right? That's the beauty of building the channels and building everything around the channel. Right, now, so to take you from here, how are we doing for time? We're doing okay, I got like a few minutes left. So this is what it gives you. It brings you to the truth. The only thing we want is the truth. Sometimes our product sucks. Like I've had sucky products before. And took me a while to realize it, but I had sucky products. And the products could be that it's a sucky product, or it could be a sucky process. Like sometimes we have an awesome product, which is a really good idea, but we just built a terrible UX, a terrible customer experience, like just a really poor way of getting through. Or maybe the colors weren't attractive, or maybe we didn't do our brand properly. So maybe just our process, somewhere on that customer journey, that process broke. But that's okay, because we're finding out. Or maybe it's us. Maybe I started off a business which is a tech business and I know nothing about technology, and it's blatantly obvious whenever anyone gets past all of the nice filters I put up. But we want to know this, and I don't want to know this in month 22. I want to know this in month 2. So because my target's not just 100,000 or 50,000 for 1 year's time or 6 months' time. My target now is 5,000 for June. You're targeting every month in your milestoning, every single month. And I want to know on the first month if my Waze map is not taking me to where it's going to go to. Okay, it's super important. And if it hasn't taken me, there is a fourth possibility in here as well, and that's that either we haven't fully committed to the channels or the channels were wrong. Okay, it may be that direct mail was just a poor option for it. But it leads us to a very important conclusion and a very important realization. And the realization is, at the end of June, in our 4-month honey period, if it's the beginning of your business, which I know for most of you it's not, but at the end of June, in month 2, we've now known that we have to fix something, that something is broken, not the end of month 22. So you become the obsessive entrepreneur. So I've already told you about us. If anybody needs to contact me afterwards, by the way, that's my email there. It's brian@expertdojo.com. If you forget, you can just shoot one to Dustin or shoot one over to info as well. That's just where you can find us. We've got spaces up in Vancouver and places. You got that? Brian@expertdojo? Okay, I'll just leave it for 1 sec. Okay, perfect. Okay. And this is kind of what we always want to make sure that we connect people with over at the dojo. Look, for us, we work with people one-to-one. We work with people in mastermind groups and put them into it. We work with people on one-to-many, or I think our pre-accelerator, of which there's a couple of people here today from. We have about 70 companies. You sit in a class. You're in that class for 4 hours. We focus on everything from brand, product fit, all the way up and all the way through it. But and within our ecosystem, this is what we try and get. And within your ecosystem, whether it's part of it or away from it, it's what you should want as well. You should make sure that you're continually introducing yourself to investors. If you feel that investment is something that's going to be coming in the future, then you're reaching out. You are not reaching out to get money, especially at the start. You are reaching out for advice. Ask for money, you'll get advice. Ask for advice, you'll get money. You want to know what makes you investable to investors. And by the way, because investors is not going to be the thing that's going to drive your revenue, you're just going to build it in as like maybe 2 people a day. Like we have within the dojo, we just have a target, which is 40 people a week that we reach out to who are new investors we haven't done, but it's a number. Everything is a number. And then down to clients that we have, you want to make sure that you're continually contacting new clients. And I will say, like everything I've spoken about, a lot of what we do and a lot of what people have kind of forgotten to do, I think maybe it's the age we're in, is this direct outreach that has just kind of stopped. So it's about being able to get those, when you're looking at, actually I didn't put cold calls up there, I put cold emails, but I meant to put cold calls too. That direct outreach every single day, not just to your partners and to your affiliates, but to your potential clients. And a lot of the time, I don't believe in faking it till you make it. I believe in just making it. And if you're in a certain position with a client, you tell them the position you're in. Every single person in this room has got the same human emotions that I have. We just view it slightly differently. And if you bring us down to a space of emotions where you say, look, we're a startup company, we have a great product, it would be really good, I'll take up no more than 15 minutes of your time. I am sure you would have wanted somebody else to do this for you when you were a startup. It's hard for people to turn you down. And especially if you have a great product. And then down here, learn, become a student of all of these. You have to own and just have total ownership of the entire marketing space that you're in. And I've covered up there in the space. Now, so I want to bring up Christopher. Christopher, can you come up, buddy? Thanks, mate. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Christopher and why this is important. We focused, at the beginning in Expert Dojo, we focused very much on brand. And then we moved our brand, and you're going to stay up for the panel, by the way. Christopher's going to talk for about 15 minutes about some really interesting parts of e-commerce. And sorry, as I was saying, like we started looking at products, and then we moved it into entertainment because I started getting involved in like a lot of entertainment companies here in just with Digital Hollywood. And then we moved it onto technology. And then Christopher came into our lives and has got this phenomenal product which he was bringing through, which I'll let him explain how that works himself. But what I realized is, wow, we have this whole area of e-commerce, which nobody really knows about. There's kind of a few people who are in the space, but nobody knows about it. And I thought, number one, like there's a methodology to drop shipping, to being able to sell other people's products, to creating a good e-commerce business if you want to set that up. But number two, many of us as entrepreneurs, we've decided what our route is going to be. But we don't have the revenue that can possibly come through from that path straight away. We need to build the revenue from other areas. And having an e-commerce site that you can build and you can make money from is really cool. So Christopher's been doing this for 20 years. He's one of the most successful e-marketers I know. I asked him to come up here for 15, and he does courses over at the dojo on how to start your e-commerce business and everything else, which I'm sure he'll tell you about. But I asked him to come up here and just give you the best marketing tactics that he has within e-commerce within 15 minutes. And then, like I said, he'll be on the panel, so you'll be able to ask him questions as well, but just within 15 minutes, and then also tie that into why is e-commerce as a platform to make money a good business. Okay, so can we just have a big round of applause, please, for Christopher? And I'll pass it to you.
Good morning, everybody. How many you guys know what dropshipping is about? Have you guys heard the dropshipping? Perfect. Whoever didn't raise their hands, dropshipping, it means you utilize different suppliers, different vendors' products for them to ship products on behalf of you. So you're the retailer. Let's say you go on Amazon and you buy, let's say, a specific pen. This pen not necessarily is coming from an Amazon warehouse. It means it's coming from a different third-party supplier, and they're shipping on behalf of Amazon. What the e-commerce stands in the world, in the industry? E-commerce currently, everybody knows, is the fastest growing industry in the world. Right now, it's almost tapping to $3 trillion industry worldwide. Why we know that the e-commerce is the future of the retail, is the future of the commerce. Everybody heard about Warren Buffett dumping his all Walmart shares a couple months ago, investing more in Amazon. The other news is Alibaba, promised President Trump he's going to be adding 1 million plus sellers on his platform in the next coming years. So all these events, you see that all the big players on the marketplace, they believe in the e-commerce, they believe in the online retail, and that's where the market is shifting. Now, whether you're selling services, whether you're selling your own product, whether you're selling, your talent online, the e-commerce is the platform that you're selling something, right? Everybody, at the end of the day, you're selling something. Whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a doctor, at the end of the day, you're selling your talent. So being online, and whatever Brian was talking about, how he puts a plan together to all the milestone, it's all about commerce. How you can do the platform, how you can structure that platform for it to work for you without you putting more effort into it. Now, it's not like a quick money-making type of a business, but you have to plan it right so it works for you. That's what we work. That's what we do with Expert Dojo. Quickly, who I am. My name is Christopher Krikori. Brian told a little bit about me. I've been doing drop shipping and the e-commerce for the past 20 years. I own a brand called Plutus Brands that not only we do drop shipping, but also we have our own brand. We sell to Home Depots, Walmarts, Target, all the major online retailers, Bed Bath and Beyond. What I have discovered, me personally, I had a manufacturing facility too in China for many, many years. I used to do my own manufacturing. I owned the factory in Shanghai. What I realized that when you concentrate on type of an e-commerce, an online business, it gives you a lifestyle. Now, maybe being in the manufacturing, I made a couple $1 million more sales, but being in the e-commerce, it gave me the platform to increase my revenue without putting so much effort into it, and then it gave me a lifestyle of freedom. I have 3 kids. I can spend more time with them. I can spend more time with my wife traveling. So that's what we teach at the drop shipping. What we teach is creating a platform that you put the hard work behind it, but it will work for you as long as you maintain it. What the teaching is about, not only building a website, not only going on Shopify and creating an account and putting some products on it, it's the whole system behind it, that how you can source product. You can start without having any single product. You don't need to manufacture your own product. You don't need to carry your own brand for you to have a website. You can start with no product at all. You can build a site. You can start marketing it correctly. Now, Brian clearly said that don't go and throw money on just paid advertising. Let's just not go on Google and start saying that let's spend $100 a day on Google, because those are not your prospect clients. Those are not people that they're going to convert every single day. And especially when you're a startup, I don't think you can afford $100 or $1,000 a day to waste it on Google. What we teach at the e-commerce course is start the site, put some products on it, and generate social media links. I can give you an example. It's part of the course. Let's say this pen, for me to bid on Google, each click I'm going to be paying probably $1.50 or $1.75 because it's a high demand keyword. Versus, let's say I go on Pinterest and bid on the same item and I get clicks and better conversion and better leads for just 10 cents a click. Which one you want to go with? It's the same prospect, but less money, but better conversion. That's why when we build this site and we start creating the structure, we look to the category and we look to the item and see which channel it gives you the best conversion for your money. And that's the part that it becomes more automation. All of a sudden, within a couple of weeks, you start receiving probably your first order, the second order, and as long as you maintain it and you increase your catalog size and you increase your vendor size, all you need to do is build items and sell items. We do have our first, we have a workshop coming up on June 3rd. It's a one-day workshop, and it's not a workshop that we talk about theories. We don't talk about, successful only stories. I mean, we do have successful students. We do have unsuccessful students. And I can share, I don't have my PowerPoint, but I can easily share, maybe I can put it later on, but I can share one of our students that started with us in October 2015. He built a Shopify site, and he's in the home category products. He started selling some items. He was doing probably $500 or $1,000 sale per month. The first 3 months he started with us, he increased his sales from $1,000 to $3,000 per month. Last year, the whole annual sales, it was $224,000 in sales annually, 2016. And as of today is 2017, as of today, his sales are $180,000 in sales. And he decided that, you know what, I like the home the category, I like the furniture, but I want to be more concentrated on electronics. So he put his business up on sale, and he got valuated for $500,000. He has 2 buyers interested in the business right now. He listed it probably over a month ago. Maybe he will not get $500,000, but he will get $450,000 for the business. So now, do you think that this guy would dream about creating a business that can be valuated? Now he decides to sell it or not sell it, that's his decision. But do you think any business is scalable enough for you to create without having a massive workforce or without having a massive investment, for you to create $500,000 in less than 20 months? Yes? No? Well, that's what we teach at the courses. It's June 3rd. I'm going to be on the panel discussion with Brian. Anything you would need is the drop shipping. You can, and that one-day course, you will walk out with the course, or from the course, having a business, not just theory. You're going to have your website live with some products on it, with scripts, how to do, where to do, and what vendors to contact. Even you're going to have a list of vendors that you can contact them right away. Thank you, and if you have any questions, yes, sure.
Before we bring, and can I get Don and Sam and everybody up here on stage? So we're ready. Okay, they've gone outside. Okay, so can we get maybe the top 3 or 4 best marketing tips on which are relevant for every industry, not just dropshipping or e-commerce, that people can use for themselves to take away today?
Yes, retargeted marketing. Whoever has any kind of product selling on the site, or if you have a service selling on the site, retargeted marketing is the way to go. Why I do say that? Now, everybody knows Amazon.com, but nobody knows Christopher.com. So if somebody lands on Christopher.com, you know what? I'm going to target that guy or that individual until they get either, buy something, they contact me, or they say, you know what? I don't want to hear from this. I don't want to see this guy's face anymore. It's called retargeted marketing. As I mentioned, as a startup, as a new website, people don't know your brand or your site. So when they land on your site, you have to utilize, now, I gave you an example of Pinterest. Whoever comes from Pinterest, we keep retargeted marketing for them on Facebook and Instagram. Now, the clicks on those retargeted marketing is a little bit higher, but the conversion is much, much, much better. Now, whether you're selling a service, whether you're selling products, having those plugins on your website is essential. If you're not doing it, you're wasting every single penny that you're spending on marketing. Whether you're doing direct marketing or you're doing ad marketing, you are wasting every single penny if you don't have kind of a retargeted pixel on your website. So I highly recommend whoever has a website, go to your programmer, go to your site, and have them install it. You don't know how to do it, call Facebook directly and let them let them help you to do that.
Okay, good. Yeah, retargeting. Let me take, hey, Christopher, grab a seat. Could we liven up the mics, please, here, if that's okay? Yeah, it's vital, and this is what I want you to get now for this next part of it. So you see, we don't take any breaks. We just go straight through. Because I want you to you've made the trouble of coming here, so we want to make sure that by the time we get to 11:20, you have everything. Like you can just squeeze this juice full of actionable activities. So now you know how to put together your plan. We now want to find out what are the extra things. You just found out about retargeting. It's huge for all of you people who are just doing it. So if you still have questions in the back of your head, oh, hang on a second, how does this retargeting work? Then we're going to make sure that you can ask Christopher, because he's going to be here as well. Now we're going to have Nicole, who's going to be joining us very soon as well. And Nicole is going to talk about branding. She's exceptional in that area. We're also going to get Jason Fishman from the DNA agency. He's going to be talking as well. He's good too. And I'm just going to kick it off at the beginning with I'd like to have people introduce themselves. Donnie, if you could kick us off, if you don't mind, Mr. Donnie Montoya.
Okay, what do you want to talk about? Can you hear me?
If you could introduce yourself a little bit, just in a minute or two, and then also talk about the importance of direct mailing, which is your particular specialty.
Okay, hi, can everyone hear me? Just make sure the level's here. Hi, I'm Don Montoya. I see a lot of familiar faces. I know a lot of you from the dojo. And I see a bunch of new faces. Glad you can make it. My background has been in tech. Since 1993, in December of 1993, I started with a little company called Earthlink. I see some of you still remember who they were. They were the first ISP, the largest privately owned ISP in the country. And I was their top sales producer there for 3.5 years, earned a bunch of stock options, and that was great. And then we went public, and I was done. Then there was DSL. I was one of the founders of a company called Internet Connect. It was a big business DSL company. We were in 34 markets across the country, raised over $64 million in VC, $15 million in seed, and we did fairly well, sold all our assets to Covad, which is a CLEC, and still doing DSL throughout the country. And ever since then, I've been an angel investor and a consultant, and I specialize in marketing of doing direct mail marketing and email marketing.
So what kind of numbers are we talking about in direct mail marketing? And how do you suggest people use direct mail marketing best?
Well, it depends. It all depends on your service and what your market is. You know, you always have to pinpoint who your audience is. Who you're trying, you don't want to just scatter and waste money and throw out a net and try to catch a fish. You want to drill down onto what your demographic is, what your service or your product is, and you want to try to get as much information, email, phone number, address that you can on that specific demographic, and that's where you target. And everything has got to be target marketed. You know, you got to point right at it, and that's where you put all your efforts.
So just on numbers, we're talking millions here. So what Don does is he has literally tens of millions of email addresses which work on broker exchanges that you can get these emails. So one of the things you're going to want to know is, am I better spending, if I have $3,000 to spend this month, am I better off spending, what kind of return would I get if I spent $500 on emails rather than on that as well? So we'll save the questions for Don.
Well, let me. I have over 350 million unique email addresses in an organic database. B2B, B2C. Everyone know what B2B versus B2, consumer or business. All the B2C are all opt-in, which you have to do, or else you get your domain blacklisted. So you have to have something attached, that coincides with that product or service where they opted into that particular specialty.
Yeah, 350 million.
That's a lot.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's a lot of emails.
And it's washed every day. It's not a list. Okay. Stay away from lists. Anyone trying to sell you lists, they could be a year old, 2 years old. People could have already been dead and buried. So lists are very scary, so stay away from them. If you get fresh data that that companies will replace if you cannot deliver, if they bounce. I mean, how many people here have an email address?
Everybody.
How many people here have multiple email addresses? How many have, one for work, one for home, one for Ashley Madison and Tinder? And then I don't know anyone above the 5th grade level who doesn't have an email address.
Yeah. It never went away. I'm just gonna let them introduce themselves, and then I'm gonna open it up to you. Sam, take us next. Sam over at the Notable
Yes, sir.
Group. Tell us all about PR and why PR is so important for a business.
You want to hear all about it?
30 seconds.
How much time do we have? No. Why PR is important for business. So, let's start. My name is Sam Rassani. I have been an entrepreneur since I was 18, so almost 20 years now. Found out that I was completely unemployable at the age of 18, so I figured, what the heck, I'll just start my own company, right? Started in the music industry, started doing a lot of concert promotion, artist management, tour management, got to travel the world with a bunch of cool bands. So I took more of a rock and roll route, I guess, than the traditional business route. Started doing a bunch of cool stuff for the bands. It was, other people thought it was cool. I just thought I needed some attention. I needed to make some noise, so I just went out and did whatever was needed. So labels started contacting me, and then brands started contacting me. Hey, you're doing all this cool stuff for labels and bands. Can't you do this for us? Yes, I can. So what we do now, this has all evolved over the years into I guess we call it a PR agency, but I really like to call it a gang of professional noisemakers. That's what we do. I think traditional PR is really boring. To kind of make a brief statement, I would say that PR is all about telling a good story. That's the most important thing. That's what people forget. Because as a PR agency, and we have some of the biggest and well-known artists in the world, we work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and we work with a ton of startups. We've never done a press release, ever.
That's interesting. Why have you never done? Let me just ask: how many people here have done a press release for their business? Like, I'll put my hand up first, right? So I think everybody would want to know why that's a problem.
That's great. Well, there are exceptions. If Apple is releasing iPhone 8 and they put out a press release, everybody's going to love it, right? Now, if Joe Schmo puts out a press release, do you think anybody's going to care? Probably not. Let me ask you this. Again, there will be exceptions to the rule, of course, but how many of you read a press release the last month?
Oh yeah, Tom.
Okay. The last 6 months? Okay, so about, 5%? How many of you engaged in that press release? Shared it, commented on it? Okay, so 3 people in the whole room. Do you see where I'm getting at? Nobody cares. Unfortunately, right? But there's a way around that, which is what has made us, I guess we could define successful, right? Is that we tell good stories. And that's what you should be doing. You need to tell a very good story. Not the story about your product, don't talk about, when you sell, I don't know if you heard about this, in sales there's features and benefits, right? The features of a product is the tech spec, right? The features of a car is the V8 is this many liters, the gas tank has this many horsepower, blah blah blah. Some people like to hear that, but the benefits, that's what really gets people. What can I use it for? Right? That's the same with telling a story about your product or your company or yourself. How can other people learn from it? What makes it engaging? Do you see what I mean? What makes me want to share your story? Why do all these companies that are on Upworthy or Viral Nova and BuzzFeed and that have their videos on there, why do they get shared so much? Because there's an interesting story. There's interesting videos, imagery, whatever it is, right? So that's one thing, tell a good story. And the second thing I usually always say is that, on the contrary to you, no, I'm just saying, mass emailing, don't mass email, right? Unless you're
say to mass email, pinpoint.
Yes. whenever you're pitching a platform, let's say it's business, right? You can do more industry specific, it doesn't matter. But if we do Forbes and Inc., Entrepreneur, HuffPo, BuzzFeed, Daily Mail, whatever it is, right? Find the writer, and just sounds like common sense, I'm just baffled not everyone is doing this, but find the writer that writes about the stuff that you do. And then pitch that writer a specific angle that's tailored to that platform. Because if it's a platform selling clothes and you're pitching a car, they're not going to talk about it. But if that car has a connection to clothes somehow, right?
And you'll probably actually
Fashion
annoy
brand.
them because you've just filled up their inbox with something which is totally irrelevant.
Right, exactly. Yes, and then next time they won't open an email from you because they know you're just sending out crap to everyone. Make it a specific, tailored story to the reporter, contributor, writer, to that platform. Yes, it's a lot more work, but wouldn't you rather target 5 big publications and at least get on one of them than send out 100 and nobody's going to give it crap?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Huge. This stuff is so damn important. Jason from Digital Niche Agency. I've worked with Jason for years and years and years. Always been part of. Get up here. You're okay. We started early. Nicole's like, really? You making me do this? No, we started early because we just thought, what the hell? Everybody loads of questions, but come on up. This is perfect timing. We're just doing the intros. Jason, you already know Christopher. Tell us all about Digital Niche Agency.
Yeah. How's everyone doing today?
They've had an hour and a half of me. How do you think they're doing?
Yeah. Always like to get a feel for
They're
the
dying.
room. But I'm Jason Fishman. I'm a marketer. I drive eyeballs and focus on conversions from those eyeballs. And at DNA, we start with digital strategy, and then focus on content marketing, advertising, and strategic outreach to find target audiences, carve out pockets of performance, and scale what's working. To give you a little history on me, I started at a creative agency, and I'd see these amazing videos, amazing websites, apps, with no one looking at them. And it was frustrating to see the amount of production hours, everything involved with the launch, and not, doing what it was designed to. As started, getting more into paid traffic, into different algorithms, into channels that can guarantee, very specific audiences showing up to these landing pages, and then being able to optimize those for conversions. It was, a breakthrough. I was able to then say, okay, there's a whole algorithm to determine how performance can be produced on this website, on this app, on this crowdfunding page, on this landing page. I come from the world of ad tech in between the agencies, led a product marketing team for a mobile and tablet advertising network. We were running these ads inside digital magazines on mobile tablets, mobile apps, full screen interstitials, interactive ads, a lot of movie studios, a lot of top 100 advertisers, everything from telecom to airlines, e-commerce, what have you. And, I would see the full spectrum of different initiatives, the full spectrum of different budgets, different timelines, got a good feeling for what worked and what didn't work. And that's the same thing we do here at DNA, but cross-channel, not just in advertising. And for startup to mid-stage businesses, which for me personally is more exciting, more fulfilling. When you're part of that momentum, when you're part of that growth, it's a whole different energy being on reporting calls. So we have a lot of fun doing it. The basis of the success of our campaigns determines, how much fun we're having at the time, and always looking for strategies to get around obstacles for clients. But we'll be able to answer questions about anything involving content marketing, advertising, or overall traffic funnels.
Beautiful. So you can see, the work for me today was not the first hour. That's just talking about stuff which should be basic. It's just not talked about enough. The work for me today was making sure that the people here who are my friends and who are really good supporters of the dojo can actually come here and make sure that we can cover every form of paid advertising, every form of PR, every form of direct emailing, and then all other tips and tricks that we can have built in here as well. But none of this matters if you don't have the right brand, if you don't have the right product fit, you don't have the right message out there, because every single other panelist will say, if you have a product that's not resonating with the public that it's intended for, forget all of this. Just save your money, go away on holidays and enjoy it. And that always ties back to your brand, which is where, for me, your market validation meets your product fit and meets the emotion that you want to transmit to the audience. This is where Nicole comes in. We don't let anybody in the dojo go forward without going through very strong branding exercises. It's just vital. So I'm really pleased. It's not, you might think, oh, is it directly tied into marketing? It's all of marketing. If you don't have your brand, it's perfect. So Nicole, welcome to the panel. Maybe a brief introduction just about TK and yourself and expertise.
I don't know if this is working.
Is that working? Pull it towards you and give it a no shout.
Is it working?
Bring it closer. Yeah, there you go. You're good.
So Agency TK is actually a British-born agency with branding at the heart of it. And I relocated here 2 years ago to set up our West Coast office, and we're over in Santa Monica. And as I said, branding is absolutely at the heart of everything that we do, and we really, really, really recommend that, even at a startup level, when investments are tight and you're trying to make $1 work like $10, that you do focus on your branding and really take that time to understand your why and your purpose. It's really easy and clear to say this is what we do and this is how we do it. The fuzzy bit comes in the why, but people buy your why. And that's how you stand out and are different to your competitors and are way, way more than just a product. When we get into talking about user growth and social media and all these different digital channels, if your product doesn't stack up, people are going to talk about it. So that is really, really important. And more and more and more, in marketing, people aren't buying what you make anymore. They're buying your stories. So it's just really, really important to have a brand that is thought through, disruptive in its approach, maybe creatively in how you look and how you feel and how you talk about yourself. So that's really at the heart of what we do. We like to think of it like a house party. You got to get that house in order before you start sending out the flyers, and inviting people in. So
it's really powerful. And the really great thing about a brand is, again, it brings you to the truth. So you may feel we've got the most disruptive product in the entire world, but really it's just a button being moved from one side of the page to the other side. You might really struggle to find your story, but maybe that's because you don't have a great story yet. Maybe the problem we have is in the product itself, or maybe it's in you, or maybe it's in the process that we're putting across. But focusing on branding forces you to get a great story before you come out, and then you just have to make sure that story is congruent. So like if you take our story, I think I'm the only person in the US who's saying that lean startup is absolute BS and you have to be insane to follow it. Like I haven't heard anybody else say it. So on one side of it, it's a very dangerous thing to do. It's what I believe and what we believe, but it's a very dangerous thing to do. It could destroy us as a company, because if enough people said, well, those guys are idiots, then we wouldn't be able to train people towards excellence, right? Because we would lose our credibility. However, by checking out your brand story, your real, personal, congruent brand story with other people, and then validating that actually you have a basis, and then building an education into that story, it can't be just a superficial story, oh, lean startup are rubbish. Like, we have to give specific examples of where it's failing companies, and then specific companies that have failed because of it, and be able to tie it into a logical argument that then turns into a holistic brand. And then if you can do that, you now have a message that a reporter wants to hear, because they have another side to the story that they want to report on. Beautiful. Thank you, Nicole, for joining us. Now, we are about to begin, where I'm going to shut up and I'm just going to let you ask questions. This is like the coolest panel in the world, because it's an hour of questions, right? So you get to ask everything you want to do. Before I start on the questions, though, I do want to do something that's really important. I was going to wait for Victor to come in, but I haven't seen him. Like, we do this every 6 months, and we cover a really important product every 6 months. And Victor Harwood, who runs Digital Hollywood, says we want to make sure that startups in entertainment and outside are able to come here, have the very best room that we have in the facility, without paying for this small portion of it, so that you can benefit from pushing yourselves forward. And it's Digital Hollywood's way of saying we support the startup community. So I just want, like, a seriously, not like a this is an Irish round of applause, right? I don't want a polite one or a nice one. I want you to show the respect for a conference that needs to earn a bunch of money so they can continue doing what they're doing, who step aside and say, we want to support the startup community and give you access to unbelievable stars, and just have it recorded here on the webcast and for Victor afterwards, like how much everybody appreciates it. So we just give like a massive round of applause for Victor. Awesome, thank you. Good Irish round of applause. Okay, hit me with the first question. What's our first question for the panel? What you got?
I'd like to talk to you about your direct mail.
Me? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you could give us an idea of how you have a list that you would target for people to cut through the spam, because I am on my website and my business website, I get so much, unsolicited mail that I don't even read it. I can't.
Well, they're not targeting you specifically.
They are. They're
I'm-
sending me scripts. They know who they are.
Are you in the entertainment business? What do you do?
Film producer.
You're a producer. Oh, so you're screwed. I mean, this is Hollywood. This is LA. Everyone who has a screenplay or a treatment
Yep.
is looking for you.
Yep.
So you're in an industry where, yeah, they're coming at you left and right with all this, that, and the other thing. That's tough. If you had a service, or you have a specific service or a specific product, then it's a different story.
Well, you got me thinking that actually we have all of this cool stuff for a film, an adaptation of a Philip K. Dick novel, which is very hot right now because the story mirrors what's happening in our government. And I'm thinking I have DVDs, posters that actually I could be selling. So I'm really listening closely to, how I can best market or do that. But I'm just thinking, I love the idea of somebody and is sending somebody a specific email that would tell them a little bit about this, but I really don't know how we get those people's eyes now, because we're all so
Well, if you're going
inundated.
to sell individually, then it would be a B2C process, and you would look for people who have interest groups in entertainment, in theater,
Right.
people who want to be entertained. And there are email people that have go to those sites and put in their name and their email, and they want to stay abreast of what's happening in the entertainment business. That would be your demographic, unless you're looking for a distributor. Then you would then go B2B, and you would use the SIC codes. Everyone know the industry codes, North American industry, and so you go to those codes and you find your specific industry code, and then you hit those people if you're looking for distributors or looking for people to manufacture yeah.
So he breaks them down. So whenever a mailing company are going to do direct mails out to people, they don't want to send it out to everyone because people will get upset. Like we still think about all of the unsolicited mail you get, which is very relevant, right? And 70% of it may go in the trash, but what Don and people who are sending out mails through Don are hoping, like me, for example, we're doing an email. How many investors are we going to send it out to?
About 150 angels throughout the world right now.
Yeah,
Is what I'm building. I'm building an angel investor.
Yeah, but the list that we're going to send out a list through, Don, like the list that we're going to send out to people who are accredited investors. What are we going to send it out to, like 20,000, 30,000 people?
First we'll do an A to B, and we'll do what you standard do when you do a campaign. What you want to get a reaction. You don't just throw everything against the wall. You put a few different messages together,
cool.
and then you get your analytics back, and you go, hey, we're getting a response from this. We ain't getting nothing from this. So let's change over to this. So you have to do your little experimentation. They call it A to B marketing, analytical marketing. That all works. It's science. So you have to. It depends on your message and what makes people feel comfortable.
And I can tell you, look, for me personally, doing the mail out through Don, if I got 30, 40, 50 contacts of people who responded back and got engaged through sending it out to a list, the only thing that matters to me is that those 20, 30, 40, 50 contacts is a lower cost of acquisition than using something else, and that the channel works.
Well, that's
there will still be a lot of people who just go delete and they don't want to take it. I'm just hoping for 50 people that I would never have spoken to before.
And that's one of the points I wanted to make, is that people for years of saying in the marketing and sales, email is dead. It's been dying for the last 20 years. Right as we're talking right now, there's over 122 billion emails being sent right this minute.
Yeah.
okay? So email marketing, first of all, the word marketing really disturbs me. I believe in sales. When you send an email, anything you do, if it does not have a call to action, if it does not have a time limit, to me, it's a waste of time. Marketing and sales are congruous. They are the same thing in my mind. I do not send anybody I consult with and I work on their copy. If there isn't a call to action, they just might as well just take that money and flush it down the toilet.
I don't know about you guys, but just there, I had this vision of Alex Baldwin in Glengarry Glen Ross, and he's holding
ABC, always be closing.
Okay, I love it. Next question, please. What else have we got? Who else has got? Hit us. Yep. And nice and loud if you can. Otherwise, I'll repeat it. Okay, so when you're drop shipping, how do you drive traffic to your site? Christopher.
Well, first of all, we know that when you build a new site, you have to spend some kind of a money on advertising. The people is not going to land. Now, people, they will say, do your SEO, do your stuff. Those are all important, but it takes time. So the minute you build a site, you have to find your channel. As I mentioned during the presentation, that when I build a new website, and I know what kind of niche or category it's selling the products into, I have to find the cheapest and the high prospect method for me to drive traffic. I gave you the example of like a pen or just a furniture piece. I wouldn't spend money on Google advertising in the beginning. I would go to Pinterest because I'm getting the same type of quality leads with the cheaper pricing. And then I'll keep bugging those prospects until they say, either I'm gonna buy it or just report me.
How would it work from Pinterest? So you'd put an advert on Pinterest, or you would just start posting on your own site?
The Pinterest developed an advertising platform almost a year ago. So you can start campaign by promoting your pins or promoting your boards, and it can even be pinnable, buyable. So your pins can be buyable. Let's say you're selling this cup. This cup, if you pin it on your board, it can be buyable directly from Pinterest, which is one way for you to close. And the second part, if they click on this specific picture and goes to your website, I would like to capture that person's IP address, email address. There's so many ways for us to capture that and retarget them on Facebook, Instagram, for us to close the sale. That's how it starts. Find your niche. Find where your prospects are, which is your target market. The best way to bring the prospect and keep retarget market them.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, next question, please. And don't worry. And if you feel that anyone hasn't been fully answered, don't worry. Just wait like half an hour or so, and then just come back into it, and we'll get it clarified. Chili, I know you had something. Yeah, Chili wants to know. He's building a platform right now, which is he told me just before we started, but he's building a platform now, which is a tech platform where he wants to get loads of users. It's influencer driven. He'll probably have about 1 million users on the platform within the next year or so, for a multiple of reasons. What he wants to know is how much can he make in advertising from advertisers to help monetize his platform. I'm going to pass this one to Jason. Maybe you can help with that. Is that right, Chili? Did I get that? Okay.
Absolutely. So, building up a publisher supply side advertising program. Used to sit with publishers and work on this. There's different approaches to how to monetize that traffic. Until the eyeballs really become valuable enough, it's tough to sell on a CPM, a cost per 1,000 impressions. That's the way premium publishers do it. They want to monetize everyone who comes through that site. Major publishers seeing billions of impressions want to know, hey, regardless of what the advertisers see in terms of performance, we want to see $1 value, more of a fraction of a penny, but $1 value for everyone who comes through the site.
How can he put together a budget at the start for how much he'd want to get through? Because he needs to show that for investors. Mm-hmm. And then secondly, how do you build up? Because I'm guessing it's not just you meet somebody and get married on the same day. It's
sure.
That you have to go through a dating process.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to build out a strategy and a program. That way, as you talk to potential advertisers, any question they have, anything they want to see is already developed. It's all ready to show to them. You know, there's different ways to do some test campaigns and create case studies so you're able to talk to them about what they can anticipate on running. I would start with flat fee or sponsorship style advertising programs, charging for time as opposed to impressions. As you get a better idea of how adverts are performing on your platform, you could start selling on a cost per click and then moving to a cost per, 1,000 cost per CPM type of model. You want to start introducing traffic sources to spike up your numbers at that time as well. The game's arbitrage. You want to be able to bring traffic in at a cheaper rate than what you're selling it for. If you're able to buy traffic at $1 CPM and you have 5 advertising banners, really round numbers, running on a single page at a $2 CPM,
Hold on, so $2 is CPM. So just so he can do a budget. So if he's got $2, how many users? I suppose how many people would he need to have to get like 50 grand a month?
A lot of ways to skin that
That's
cat.
the hardest question ever. I know that, but
I think it's about what. I think it's about to the advertiser, what's the demographic worth to them? So if your demographic is going to be like, I don't know, 18-year-olds to 22, and you think that they might be students, you're going to target certain advertisers who want to get into that persona, that audience bucket for them, to be able to tap into their behaviors and sell their products to them. So I think you might need to define who's going to be using that site to know which advertisers to sell them, to see the value and the worth in that demographic, to know what to charge.
let's say it's 20 to 25.
Yeah.
Exactly,
The
but-
thing is,
yeah.
there's no magic formula. If there was, we would be millionaires on a yacht.
Yeah.
I suppose what he's looking for is a number that he can project in there. If he gets like 1 million users or 5 million, 10 million users, platform is powerful because he has some of the top. What?
No, I was just going to say,
That's something?
to me, it's also a question of how much can you get. I've sold packages, not PR, but other stuff that we do is you can sell a package, an influencer package for $5,000 to one person and $45,000 to another person. It's the same package, but it's just how much is it worth to them?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? It's unless you want a complete automated platform where you can, like Jason says, the cost per click and the CPM and all that, that's great to have. But if it's influencer driven, now you have the opportunity to partner up with some big brands who will pay stupid money to be seen with influencers, to have influencer driven traffic. I mean, we've done deals where the brand didn't necessarily get a lot of clicks or a lot of sales through a campaign, but they still gladly paid $100K for it because they were seen with this, and this influencer. You see what I mean? So
Yeah. The influencer
I don't know if that's
pricing
what
model.
you were looking for.
Yeah, the influencer pricing model is less defined. But at the end of the day, like as an agency, we're going to look at 3 opportunities after getting contacted by 10 vendors every day from emails and from things like that, and we're going to compare them. So when we look at the audiences, when we look at what it could potentially produce in terms of performance, we're going to weigh out what's best, and cost will be associated in that. There's data that can be added to Facebook, Pinterest, any of these platforms. That's an extra fee on the CPM. Influencers we buy on a CPM these days too, but because the flat fees, it's so variable. You don't know if that's what the actual worth is.
Yeah.
But it's all of the audience, like it's being said there. Whoever's buying it, as long as it makes sense for their buying model, that's what you'll be able to charge them.
It's interesting. I'm going to come back to it as well afterwards. Okay, more questions. What you got? And give me the next hand as well, just so I know who's coming afterwards. Okay, you're going to come next. What have you got? No, just the gentleman behind you. I'll come to you third. Okay, he's just there.
What do you guys think is the best way to build a subscriber base for like an ad-supported or subscriber VOD channel nowadays?
What's the best way to build a subscriber-based VOD channel these days?
In what niche? What's the vertical?
Oh, it could be multiple niches, or it could target it towards either factual or scripted or retro or
Like an indie Netflix kind of platform?
yeah.
Okay.
But ad supported.
On what budget?
I guess it just then it depend on what is the best way to grow it, fast or slow or organically or.
Okay. If I start, I mean, I think some of these guys are even better at this than me, of course, but direct response, absolutely. Email your target market, and this is the man to talk to. Ad supported, I'm sure Jason can help you with that. I think coming from a social and PR absolutely background, absolutely that too. It's just about getting a lot of eyeballs on it. So influencer driven, make sure people talk about it, make sure it's buzzing on the big platforms, get some clicks there, have a fantastic landing page, of course, that people sign up to. A lot of paid traffic, Facebook ads. I've never actually run much on Pinterest, but I'm sure it works there too. But Facebook is an extremely powerful platform where you can get cheap clicks if you do it right, you do the targeting right. So it's all depending on your budget, but as long as there's a demographic that's interested and that's engaged, because I think your goal is not only building subscribers, but also getting the subscribers to talk about your platform and share it to their friends, etc. Right? So you want
and
Netflix,
also,
for example. That's what they're doing.
Can I just clarify? Are we talking about building a Netflix, or are we talking about building some kind of tuition program, which is learn how to speak French in like 4 weeks?
I guess commercial entertainment. But what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be a subscriber VOD. It could be advertising. It's free. You just turn it on, it's fine. But you'll have to.
Still the same. The answer would be the same for me, at least.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one straight answer. I think it's a full strategy that touches your target audience everywhere they go online and stimulates peer-to-peer marketing, because most people go to these sites because a friend told them to. So to say, hey, run ads on a CPA for email subscriber acquisition, or just Facebook ads, it's really a matter of testing different touch points, seeing what creative is going to resonate with your audience is the best on each channel, and scaling what's working.
And this is also why what I was mentioning earlier on is so important to have those 14 or 15 channels. We have one chap over in the cohort, and he's got a program, like I mentioned, whereby he teaches math to kids. And the objective is to turn it into a very strong subscriber-based platform. But the hard thing about subscriber-based platforms is they require loyalty, and they require belief, and they require trust. And for those three areas, you need to build it in most cases unless you buy it. Like, you only have two options. So in his case, he's got a course on Teachable, which I don't know if you've ever seen Teachable as a platform. A few of you've maybe been on it, where it's just very low cost, almost free, but he has tens of thousands of subscribers, people watching him on it. And there's another one which totally escapes me, where it's $10 for every course. What's it called? Udemy, right? So he has 10,000 people who have paid $10 for every single course. So that course is not going to make him a huge amount of money. It's not going to make him poor. But what he's doing is he's building up this free content marketing with lesser content so that people can build into it. You can't do that specifically in your area, but it's the same type of thing. You look at your partnerships, you see what you can get. You look at what affiliates you have out there who already have a large platform, and then you layer it in with these. And I think Don mentioned at the start, you A/B test the hell out of it, and you watch it daily based on what you're actually getting back through. Okay, thanks. And you had did you have a question? No, it was you. So I'm sorry, it was you, yeah. What's your question?
I'm having trouble, people are visiting my site, and I'm paying for some advertising to get people to go there, but I'm having trouble getting them to actually fill out information about how I can contact them in the future.
What are you giving
site?
away?
Legal services.
But are you giving something away to them? Are you giving them something like, hey, win a free consultation, 1 hour consultation, a half hour this, or a free pamphlet on we'll cover all this stuff? That's, and you're not getting any, no one's filling it out? Then I worry about your landing page. I would give away something. See, everyone wants to feel good about, you want to humanize it to them.
I
Okay.
think if you're advertising, it'd be about quantity versus quality. Maybe the quality of your traffic, that they're landing there is your bounce rate really high? Have a look at that in the analytics at the back, because maybe people have gone there and they've realised they're in the wrong place, so they're leaving straight away, and that's why they're not filling anything out. Or move around the button
What's your URL?
or the field.
Really?
Put in the hot chair now.
Yeah.
Yeah, play around with where that
Sorry.
field.
P-R-E, is it P-R-E-N-U-M?
NUPTA.
Is that it?
Prenup.com.
Okay, let's do it. Let's make it real.
Just don't get married at the, you get one of my packages.
Limited time offer. Okay.
These are ready to print kind of prenups, or
They're, so you can,
like a rocket lawyer kind of thing?
Legal Zoom.
it's kind of like that, but you can hire an attorney to work with you on the prenup on the phone. So it's like low price, affordable prenups for people who need them.
Like
So who's your-
Uber for prenups.
Who's your target here? Is it right? But is it both of them, or is it one? Are you doing like the happy yoo-hoo, let's get a prenup, or the if you don't get a prenup, you're going to be in trouble in case she finds you on
Are you selling from fear?
I think it would be either, so what we want to do is provide information to people who are interested in their prenup. So you can give them, like how does a prenup work? Like, what does it protect? And then
who's usually interested in a prenup?
a lot of entrepreneurs, people who have assets going into a marriage,
Okay.
people who have debt. If your partner has debt, you don't want to take that on.
Okay. I'm just kind of checking if you know who you're targeting, and that's good. You seem to know.
Are you targeting those audiences with Facebook data, running Facebook ads to people who are engaged, which you can target, and people who have high assets, which you could target?
So I ran Facebook ads and they weren't successful for me.
Mm.
I had a lot of impressions but no clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been running Google ads and they've actually been doing really well.
Yeah.
Because I can focus on the territory and
People searching those actual keywords. Yeah.
Have you targeted any wedding planners and set them up as partners?
That's what I was going to say. What I would do is if you're running Google ads,
Get 200 an hour.
run 10 different messages, right? This is when it comes back to brand. Your brand's the same, but your brand communications dial up, dial down. So try different buckets of themes. So go after protect your assets, go after, is your partner in debt? Go after all these different themes across all these different ads, analyze which one's getting the most traction, then do more on that one.
Yeah, I would dig into, I could be wrong here, but I would think fear-based would be more effective and really dig into it too. Don't just explain that, hey, this is what you need to do. Explain why they need to do it. Show the worst case scenarios of stuff that happens, and then you get them to click.
And can I just throw in a few things here as well? Firstly, how did you choose the demographic of your photos?
I went with stock imagery that I thought looked good. It was
Yeah, you don't want to do that stuff. Like, for example, there's whether it's Asians or whether it's, like, you're in a very difficult space. You've got to be super careful. This is, and the area that you're in is absolute trust. So they have to trust you. People are getting married. They're going through a really difficult conversation. For us, it's a social stigma that we don't want to. By the way, everybody should do one. Like, it's smart, right? It's like stupid we don't do them. But it should be like a contract. There should also be a contract to be nice to each other for longer periods of time. But anyway, prenup should definitely be there. But your site, here's my point with your site. From me looking at it, your user experience is very crowded. There's a lot of stock photography, which I despise more than anything that exists in the world. The messages don't put trust to me. Here's the good thing. I don't know if it's a WordPress or anything. I'm not saying like change the site, but change the messaging on it.
Yeah.
You need to get people in who would want to do prenups, people who are your absolute audience, and get them to look at this. You also have no traffic going to your sites. You saw me going to Alexa there and just checking it. You have to build up partnerships. If you just rely on Facebook ads, it's just going to be money in and money straight out again. This is an area where I think that the not just the messaging, but the content marketing is
And
huge.
another
Branding.
thing too
Yeah.
that
Yes.
I noticed. Oh, sorry.
Everybody wants to go
Yeah,
there.
just quick.
I want you to put a picture of a courtroom.
Another
on the
thing that I
homepage
noticed.
No.
with two lawyers and two people standing on the side.
No.
I don't want to buy prenups with a discount lawyer.
Yes.
You see what I mean? Well, you're
great
targeting high net individuals, is what you said, and people have assets or debts. This is not a service I want discounted. You're diluting your brand.
Yeah.
I want the Massey prenup. Who gets that?
No, but I want someone who knows what they're doing. I'd rather pay whatever they're charging
I don't want to
me.
lose my Harley, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I rode my Harley. I don't want to lose
Nick,
it.
what Nicole, hang on, Nicole's
Another
got-
question, what is the time frame for somebody makes a decision saying that I
Yes.
need a prenup until they close the deal? What's the time frame usually?
There's legal requirements, you have to give your spouse 7 days to review the agreement.
Okay.
They sign, and it has to be before the marriage, so they're not under duress. When they're signing, those are those legal requirements, but we can turn it around and give you a
No, I'm not talking about what your turnout time. I'm talking about me as an individual. I say, you know what, I need a prenup. When I usually, based on your experience, I make a decision, it's the time, let me talk to my wife, and let's go out and, do the paperwork. Usually, what's the time frame usually?
done within 2 days.
But the sales cycle.
The sales cycle, yes.
So, the only way I'm making sales is when they call me,
Right.
Okay.
talk to them on the phone.
Right.
And then it sort of establishes this trust, that they know what I'm talking about. The site is really just a lead gen for them calling.
for attorneys.
So-
But you need to be. Can we get Nicole in as well?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what you're saying that you can sell them on the phone. We need to get what you're saying as that brand message and that trust and credibility onto that site. If I were you, I would take a pause, take a step back, go back into your why, and explore the emotion behind your audience groups. Is it a female that wants the prenup? Is it the male that wants the prenup? What's the emotion of them, and what's the emotion of the spouse or fiance, partner? And define those audience groups, define the emotion, back to the why, and then clean that
This
up.
is so huge. By the way, this applies to everybody. The reason I want to bring this up here is because it makes it real about our business. Your lean startup is the fact that we used to die when we were 40. It was like super easy. Hey, did you take this person to be with you for the rest of your life? Yeah, cool. It's like 6 years and I'm going to be dead. Not anymore. Now you can do double homicide and you're getting out quicker than you are out of a marriage. So you want to make sure that this is less about protecting money and more about setting rules. So you're standing up and saying the fundamentals of the moral code and ethics of our system has been destroyed and decimated. Everything that we used to stand for and what we did has gone. I'm standing up to say we want to put more rules in place. And if there are things such as financial liabilities for somebody jumping into something they shouldn't jump into too quickly, then let's put financial liabilities. But actually, there should be more things as well. Like you should be speaking, you should be outreaching to conferences, you should be on podcasts, like you should be loud.
You should be
and if
on
marriage,
your website.
You should be doing an intro video.
Yeah.
You say if
You
you can
should be
close
on
when
your
they're
website.
talking to you.
Okay.
The first thing they do would get to your website would be you speaking
Yeah.
how you speak
Yeah.
to the people
Yeah,
on
that'd
the
be
phone.
great idea.
I have a client that has the most wonderful course on teaching servers how to be top-notch servers. This helps the owner of the restaurants because they sell more stuff, and it helps the server because they get more tips. And as soon as you click on his site, it's him saying, well,
okay.
my name is, he's from Italy, and he uses that, and he's one of the top maitre d's in the city.
This is good. So in summary, you just need to change everything to reflect the reason why you did it in the first place. Here's the interesting thing here, and I'm going straight on to you, sir. This is not about marketing. Your problem is not a marketing problem. Your problem is a brand and messaging problem as to the why. Because at the beginning, what you want to do is make me not feel dirty and greedy by getting a prenup signed. But actually, I should be your target audience, as should every female and male who's in here. You just need to build up a proper reasoning behind it. And then you need influencers who may be marriage counselors and people who are in the space who must be equally pissed off about the whole situation of what they're seeing, to actually step in and say, this is not necessarily a deterrent to a marriage, but it really speaks loudly to what's expected within a marriage, which is that you guys stay together. Okay, thanks. You, sir.
My question's about the emailing.
Oh, it's me.
The gentleman said you have very large email databases. How do you maintain, this, that,
Well, they're not lists. It's an organic
So
database.
the question was, how do you maintain large lists within the 135 million emails that Donnie has?
350 million. Because the people that participate in it, when people change jobs all the time, and sometimes their emails are thrown out by the carrier because they haven't been used for a certain amount of time. So this is constantly being washed. So it's organic. It's like a big bank vault, and we.
He's saying, is it your email database, or is it an email database that you lock into?
It's an
and then
email
distribute?
database that I lock into that a lot of different people like me are part of, and we do campaigns, and we find one that bounces, we send it to the man who runs everything, and he kicks it out. So that's why it's fresh. It's organic. Like one day, if you specific market you're looking for, I'll have 75,000. 2 weeks later, I may have 85,000 because we've added, or I may have 62,000 because we washed it because there was a bounce back, someone doing a campaign like that, and we get them replaced for free.
Yeah, so it's cloud-based email storage. That's what you don't want anybody, by the way, who has their own email list because it just goes old. Okay, perfect. Next, what have you got?
Well, I am marketing to businesses. I provide a service where I follow people.
What's your website?
Powers people.
If anybody doesn't want to put the website, just tell me, by the way. It's only if it helps. Would you like me to put...
Like Tony Robbins.
Okay, cool. What's your website?
Or-
Peakflowactivators.com.
Peakflow.
Activators.
Yeah? Okay, ask your question, please.
Okay, so I am trying to figure out how to get companies to want my services for their employees. I'm putting their employees into the flow state, which is the optimal state of consciousness. It creates more productivity, creativity, all of that. I have a specific...
Could I just stop you for 1 second, because I just have to say this. Anybody who has stock photography anywhere in their websites, can you remove them tonight, please? Just take them out, honestly. Just anything where there is somebody doing this. We actually have one. Or like there's 5 people in a room where one is like the white middle-aged guy, and then the next thing is the black woman who's there, and then the really pretty Asian person who's there. Like
You're missing an Asian.
That could have really happened.
You are missing an Asian in that photograph.
So
yeah,
perfect.
You put an Indian in there, which is really good, but you missed an Asian. Yeah. I just want to point out, like, if you've got real photos yourself, like, use your real photos, like real people, a real meeting, like something like this is a great photo for us. I don't think we have any photos on our site that are not either events or talks or something else. You have them, or you can find them, but just change. That's all. That's all. Just please, but keep going.
Okay, so I guess there's 2 questions. One is what's the best method to get in front of these businesses? And secondly, what's something I can offer for free to a business if they come to my website?
Wow.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Is the business just yourself, or is it a bit bigger than that?
It's myself.
Okay, so I would say that you need to work more, and I don't know what you're doing so far, so let me know, but more on your personal branding. So the brand needs to be you. So I would try and get some speaking events where you're in front of these brands and you're talking about these kind of wellness topics, wellness, health, psychology, all these different things. Lululemon do loads and loads, as I'm sure you know, of these kind of extracurricular style events where it is all about their employees. And I've got friends that do similar stuff in the industry and how they've done it and how they're taking part in this kind of thing, going into businesses and doing this kind of, I don't know what you would call it, wellness, I'm not sure what the arena is, but is through their own personal branding, through doing speaking events, through becoming almost like an influencer themselves, so that these brands are actually seeking them out. So I would say, instead of that photo, put a photo of yourself there, like flip it around straight away, build it around you, your experience, your talents, what you can bring, and that authenticism, if that's even a word, I think will help enormously.
Where are you located?
Well, I'm based here in LA. I can travel.
Yeah, but this is where you start. This is where this is your
Locally,
demographic
yeah.
right now. This is where you put all your efforts to getting some success stories. So Chamber of Commerce's, They're always looking for speakers. HR, throw an event for HR people.
Small business administration.
Free wine and beer after hour. Get together with other HR people. You do your presentation. Start where you're at. Build your business from where you're at, because you have more control, and then you can get the success stories, and you can also see what doesn't work, what does work, and then you monopolize on that.
And also, you got to explain this a bit more. The flow state, I have no idea what the flow state is. It just means I'm feeling good on myself, but I don't know where it's going to take me. Like, you have to send me. So it's the site itself. It explains what you do, but it doesn't explain your why. For anybody who any of you who haven't seen the Simon Sinek video of I think it's The Art of Why or Find Your Why, you got to look at it, because it's very focused on, like, why do you exist for your customers? So I don't just want to be in the flow state because I'm in the flow state. I want to be in the flow state because it's going to do something for me that wouldn't ordinarily have happened between the hours of 9 to 4 o'clock today. And you have to paint what that picture is right at the start. I have one other piece of advice, and I'm going to pass it to Sam, and that is start with one-on-one. There is a terrible trend in just the US and the world in general to launch these courses and how to be brilliant in like 472 steps. But we haven't done the fundamentals, and this isn't you because I don't know you, but it's just everybody, like, really impact on individual people first. Because we have to hone our craft with people that we really touch, and then make those people your ambassadors so that you can change everything with them. And then you build that into the online. Then it's easy to get subscribers, it's easy to get online, it's easy to get all of those. Okay, so that's it. Sam, what did you have to add?
Just remember that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So this goes for everyone and their website questions, because I think I always get a ton of questions about websites. I'm sure everybody on the panel does, and you can sit for days and weeks to explain to people how to do their websites. First of all, I see no pictures of you.
Oh, I just took our website down. Yep.
Oh.
But there
I
are
don't
no
see any
pictures of it.
testimonials.
Yeah.
I don't see anything establishing credibility. I don't see that you've been featured anywhere. I don't see anything that would make me think, wow, I got to talk to this gal and get her to reach my peak performance levels. You see what I mean? I'm just being very blunt now,
Yeah.
so I hope you can kind of take it. But you were very right when you said you got to build a personal brand. Look, why is Tony Robbins the most successful coach in the world? He has a massive personal brand. It's him, right? And again, on your websites, there needs to be a great headline. It needs to pull me in. And then you need to establish credibility. Who the hell are you? Why should I listen to you? Why should I scroll down and waste another second of my life listening to what you have to say? And the third thing is that, I'm not saying you, I'm just, in general, people talk a lot about themselves on their website. This is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what I do. There's nothing, hey, here's what I can do for you. You see what I mean? Again, establish credibility. Do you have any logos? Have you been featured anywhere? Get a feature on HuffPo or anything that's super simple to start with, right? If you don't have a PR budget, at least talk to any contributor to HuffPo. Anything you can put on there that kind of establishes credibility that, oh, other people are listening to you, right? I'm sure you have it. I didn't see the social media links. Needs to be above the fold. People need to be able to see who are you, Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. You know, we need to be able to connect with you real quick.
And let me
And
riff on that.
Strong call to action.
What you're
Why should I click?
You're just saying it's so friggin' huge because we have this amazing passion and energy about what we're building, and then we hand it off to a web developer who just builds something random and copy-based. Like, it's just, there's a total disconnect. That's what it is, Sam.
Yeah.
Because if we look at why you did this and what makes you energized and how you want to do it is entirely different from what your website is saying. Your website is just focused on the functional capabilities of what your product does.
Yeah.
Really boring, and it reflects most of us.
If we put you on stage, would you think that the website reflects what you can do when you're on this stage? So why do you have that website?
Burn it.
Yeah. Burn it to the ground, redo it, make it represent you. Remember, authenticity is big. I think for coaches, etc., if there anyone's out here, be authentic. Even on Instagram and Twitter and all that, people always see, what we see are the highlights. It's boring. You see what I mean? People don't want to know that even now, all those gurus and all that stuff, like we have some of them are our clients, some of the guys you always see with the Lambos and the Ferraris and all their mansions and crap. We don't get them on publications every time we pitch, because they always come to us and say, oh, I want to be seen with my Lambo and talk about all my millions, and all the publications say no.
He works with Ty Lopez, to be fair.
I can't say anything bad about him, it's the client, but either way, the thing is that you have to tell a good story. How did you get to where you are? What triggered you? Why are you a coach? What did you find out that this system did for you? Also, again, testimonials. What has it done for others? Do you see? I mean, this panel could ramble and give you $45,000 worth of advice in the next couple of hours. But I'm just saying, in general, for everyone, this is what applies to every website out there.
Yeah, make it about you. Okay, I've got Christine asked me. She wants to get advice. She's launching this product right here, which is the Nessa Brush Spa. It is the first automated cleaner for makeup brushes, right? So most females that I've spoken to have said, wow, a automated brush cleaner for brushes is kind of crazy because it's not out there. But, so she has a product which doesn't exist anywhere, where there's a real need for. She's launching it in a month's time on Indiegogo. What should she do on top of that? I think her site, she built this herself, did a nice job, put a little video on it, put it onto Squarespace. The product itself is a really high-end product. You get the brush spa, which is like the cleans all the brushes with automated air dryers and all that kind of cool stuff and solution. Then you get the brushes, and then you get the cleaner too. And all for, what are you doing it at the beginning for?
Influencers.
Okay, so 120, starting at 129, then go to 149, then it's going to go to $200. Sam, what do you think?
Influencers. Absolutely. Yeah. You need influencers to just push the hell out of this.
Yeah.
Go, what kind of budget you have, I don't know. Go with Kylie Jenner if you can, but if you can't, any and everyone you can find. Some of these guys are really...
Why do you say Kylie Jenner? Just
no, but I mean, they just...
She doesn't clean her own makeup brushes.
No, I'm just saying, like, for a big brand... the thing is also, even if Kylie Jenner's audience might not buy, there's going to be a million influencers posting about it because she posted about it.
Yeah.
But the thing, you need influencers.
And I think a bit of PR, like the whole glamour, Cosmo, that kind of thing, like featured in.
Okay.
She doesn't have time for that. You're doing an Indiegogo soon, right?
I am, yeah. We're going to start in July.
She's going to start in July, so she might have time for it. Would she have time for it, Sam?
But it doesn't even matter if it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Like, eventually
That's
she'll
the point,
have those
right?
logos.
This is a journey.
It's
the
a
reason
journey.
that many Shark Tank companies and Kickstarter companies that they fail afterwards is it feels like a one-time mission.
Yep.
It should be a journey, right? The journey is, hey, we start Indiegogo, then we go to Shark Tank maybe, then we go to QVC maybe, then we actually layer in a bunch of ads, then we get the Christmas shopping for the people to come through. Like, it should be a sprint for 2 years with everything built in at the start. That's awesome advice.
What's the best way to make noise in that?
How do you make noise in that space?
I mean,
Get as many as possible.
Okay, what you got? Sorry, gentleman just behind you.
Yes, our website is gotspare.com. Essentially, in short, we
Just spell it for me. G-O-T?
SPARE.
S-P-A-R-E. Cool.
Whether it's the website or how we're interacting on social, which is more important? Do we go after and tell the story about the merchant base? Because without them, we can't serve our customers. Or do we talk about the consumers? Because if our users don't go into those locations, then our merchants...
Well, here's the thing, though. The merchants are consumers, too. If you have an article in Forbes, they're going to read it. Both of them. You see what I mean? I mean, you can do segmented marketing when you do sales and marketing, and again, I'll lead it over to these other experts here. But for storytelling, I would go broad first. Again, establish credibility. So once you have a feature in we work with a lot of businesses that do B2B, but still, once they have articles, and well, again, Forbes, because it's a well-known brand, right? But we could, any other platform out there are tons of them. Because when you're pitching your story to others, first of all, hey, I was in Forbes last week, you want to talk to me? oh, okay, that's a little bit more interesting than, hey, I'm Joe Schmo and nobody talks about me, right? And two, again, the merchants, you can also keep them updated with what you're telling, the story that you're telling about what you're doing, because I think that consumers will drive merchants as well. If they see something's happening, they will come to you. Do you see what I mean? I hope that kind of answers your, yeah.
Any other comments on it? I think it's a nice site, by the way. The only thing is, it's hard if somebody doesn't want to download the app. Do they have any way to engage with you? Because it looks like it's kind of your way or the highway, which is okay. Like the product itself is really good. I just worry about the initial engagement.
An explainer video might be nice, like a little animation.
Yeah, just something, because I might look at this. I love the idea, but I love the idea that I can just go to a cash register. I mean, I know your product anyway, but I love the idea that I can just go to a cash register, like in my local Vons, and they'll just give me like $200 and I'll walk away. It's an ATM. It's cool, but I just hate friction. So the more frictionless we can make our product by allowing people just to at least engage on multi-platforms rather than forcing them into one space. Because if you think about it, an app is a very non-user-friendly method of being able to do it. It just is. I know we all use them, but it just is. So if you can find a way on the website whereby maybe you can engage them, maybe there's a let us help you, or let us start. Just you want more users, right? And you don't want anyone to go away. And I just feel, Jason, you're an expert on this area. What do you think?
Sell me on the audience. Supply and demand, your merchants are obviously what you're selling here, but the audience numbers is what will bring people. Merchants won't want to be on here unless, it's a chicken or egg situation. I would definitely look for relationships that can, really kickstart your whole supply side, the whole merchant side. There's a lot of groups, a lot of organizations where merchants talk. Whether it's eBay seller conversation groups or Amazon seller conversation groups, you want to find conversations that'll get you a lot of merchants in a small period of time. But the audience has to, when I look there, I'm saying, why aren't I on any of these other platforms?
One of the things about this, since we've been going to these new style websites where you got to scroll for 2 days to get to the actual meat of the thing, I would bring your merchants who you have already signed up, and I would bring all that stuff up higher, instead of wait, because people will give up. They'll go on there, oh, that's cool, next. If I could see a bunch of different recognizable names or things that are actually happening, I could see some numbers, right below your first scroll, that puts it in their minds, and this is a legit company. They're doing legit business with
Social
legit
proof.
businesses.
Yeah.
So, and that's my biggest peeve with these new sites. And I have like one of the oldest sites. He was making fun of it the other day. I have like old style, not like Microsoft first set, but I have one where you actually have to click on the side.
Use a chisel.
Contact.
You hit it.
Yes. It's all right on front. There's our actual real home page, and you just click on the different things to go that interest you.
It's simple, and it's such
These things piss me off.
Yeah, but it's actually, but Donny, you've just bypassed the problem on it. No, it's true. But the problem isn't so much even the flow or where it goes down to. It's just that make it simple for people and have the relevant stuff on the top page. I was thinking the same thing. Like, tell me that if I go to Vaughn's, even I'm going to get a free packet of chips. Like maybe if I go there and I use the exchange, maybe they have a special promotion that gives me a free can of soda or a free bottle of water or a free can of chips. Like they want consumers in their store. That's the reason why they do it. You're going to give them a reason. So just build in really good reasons and make it simple. It's just a little bit clinical. We have time for 2 more questions. Oh, really? Okay, can I just get all of the questions and I'll get everybody to answer them in the last 5 minutes? What's your question?
My question is, if you want to start building up your own influencer opportunity, which platform would you start on, and which one is?
Instagram.
Okay, good. So before you answer, just give me so what was yours?
Instagram for sure.
Depends what you do.
Don't
sorry,
cheat.
I'm
Don't
sorry,
cheat. Don't cheat. Don't cheat. Okay, sorry, what's the question?
I sell services to big companies and artificial intelligence. It's really hard to sell. Even when you've got the people in the company, you have to get the budgets and everything. However, it's really useful.
What kind of services?
So, for example, in ad tech, we built cross-device tracking solutions where we help people follow.
Actually, hang a sec. This isn't going to work. What's the best influencer platform?
They all said Instagram, but I
We
said
said
first of all,
Instagram.
what does she do?
Yeah, just quickly say what you do. Yeah, we're going to try and do a minute each. Okay, I get everybody. This is impossible.
The philosophy is going to be connecting our future. I was also in the music industry, and then I had a child, and I've been working in education, trying to bring kids up, and making kids see what opportunities are available now, since everything's changing. It's not doctors, lawyers, whatever. There's so many different jobs now. So I'm realizing to have a bigger spread, I used to think I need to go build a festival, and that time's gone. And so I work with a lot of schools, I work with a lot of companies, I do a lot of outreach, but I want to do more and help schools understand how to build community and how to engage their students and teach them about all these new technologies.
Who's your end user? Is what everybody wants
The
to know.
kids, right?
Is like, I don't know.
Well, you got to know.
I'm saying our middle school students to kind of get them prepared for high school so they know what jobs.
Okay, so where's the best place to
I
go
mean,
for
I
influencers?
would say Facebook.
Students, are you kidding me?
Other than Facebook, I would get an endorsement. Other than the platform, I would find what kind of books or what kind of interests people have, your audience, and I will get either paid endorsement for your program.
It's actually a really good idea because it's very hard.
also.
I'm not even sure if like my boy doesn't use Facebook. He's not middle school yet, but he's going there. They don't use Facebook anymore, so it's super hard. And you're like, for me, for influencer platforms, if they're big boys and girls, they're all on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I can directly outreach to people. They don't ding me unless my messages are stupid. So you can build up a lot of people and they get to know you. For social media influencers, we outreach all day, every day on direct messages to Instagram. Love Instagram. Use Facebook to direct messages as well. Like, we don't spend any money on doing it, and we can go out. I hope that helps.
How about like Google Education going out to all the middle school counselors and people like that would inspire them to have any experience?
Not sure about Google Education.
long of an answer.
Ask afterwards. The guys will hang for a second. So we're on
Rapid
artificial
fire.
intelligence.
Yeah.
It's really hard to sell to companies because they don't understand it.
Well, yeah, you need to get the right people in the companies. So basically, we've had success. We've got some great clients, and what we've done is we've used our network. So we've done that very well, but we're exhausted. We're getting to the point where our network is no longer giving us new leads. And what I really, really need is a mentor, ideally in our space, who can, use his network, validate our product, help us develop our products and our client base. At the very least, a network.
So look, first, number one, I can introduce you to some people. We host the largest artificial intelligence conference here in the LA region, and we'll be doing it in about 4 months' time. So we know a bunch of people in that space. So afterwards, just connect with me. We have to do this fast, but connect with me. I know a huge amount of people in that space. We have a bunch of our companies who are doing it. Anything else, just on help on how to outreach to potential new contracts and customers for AI?
I would say joint ventures. Who is your complementary platform in your marketplace that you can do kind of a joint venture with them?
Little revenue
That's
share.
that's the easiest way.
Yeah. With the existing clients.
With the existing clients,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we've tried that. We're hoping that it'll come through, but
With how many? How many have you tried it with?
2.
I'm talking about like 5 to 10 outreaches a day.
Yeah.
Every day. I'm talking about like you're touching 100, 200 people. Jose, let's do you. But come back to us, I'll help you. I'll come back to you, I promise. See, his hand up too.
This is for Sam in regards to some PR. So my company, everyone here is on social media. What my company does, we develop a mobile app with the touch of a button. People within 150 feet can connect with you on social media, whatever platform you choose, using Bluetooth. And so my question to you, Sam, is June 7th, LinkedIn is coming out with their Bluetooth technology. Now, I don't know if it's similar or not. However, we do have a patent pending on our technology since last July. So from a PR standpoint, and in terms of riding the wave, because our biggest challenge as a startup was informing the public on how Bluetooth works. A lot of people think Bluetooth is just your headset or to your car, but not device to device. So on June 7th, when Link releases,
So how can you get onto the back of their PR to actually, for a startup who've got great similar technology, to do the same thing?
Yeah, there's tons of ways. I would need to sit down with you to kind of come up with angles and stories, but yes, we call it PR sniping when someone bigger is releasing a story and then you just tag along onto it, right? There are tons of those opportunities. When Apple releases a new phone, some company comes out with a new battery or a new
Related,
thing.
they call that related interests.
Yeah, exactly,
what do you think about, because we can either attack them, but then also
No.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Don't attack them.
You don't attack
Don't
LinkedIn.
ever.
who welcomes LinkedIn to the Bluetooth space or something like that.
Right. No, I wouldn't attack LinkedIn because it kind of.
Nor be condescending, because to be fair, LinkedIn probably don't need a welcome, right?
Yeah, I mean, one, they're much bigger than you and will
Yeah.
crush you to death if they want to, and then two, why get in the nasty? Do you see what I mean?
Don't-
Like, I don't want to associate your company with being a nasty company that just throws.
They're doing you a
Crap.
favour. They're going to educate your audience
Eh,
into
yeah.
using this new technology.
Yes.
So
And
don't
I-
attack them.
Now that
I've
this
been
is
there.
out, here's what you can do with us. Do you see what I mean?
When DSL first became DSL, no one knew what the hell it was or how it worked, and there was two other companies that were well funded way before we were, and they threw all kinds of money up against buses and newspaper and stuff. And when it came time, everyone familiar with the word assimilate? I assimilated every good thing that both those companies said, and I put in my own stuff. And then and so what we were able to do is take advantage, say, they're a great company, they're a good company, but here's our differential. They're a fine bunch of people, but this is what we do differently, and this is why we're better. Don't ever badmouth your competition.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes to bite you in the ass.
We're entirely consistent with this. Just don't do it. Just bad karma. It feels bad. I know you're not trying to, by the way, but just ride on the.
Right.
You want somebody who's a top executive in LinkedIn to keep hearing about you saying amazing things about LinkedIn and why LinkedIn are awesome and why they're great, and keep hearing blue in that space. I got to move. Do you have a quick point to add, Sam? No, I'm going to move
No,
on
I
to-
was going to say I'll hang out here for another 15 minutes after if you guys want to ask.
Okay, cool. Thanks, buddy. That's great. I got. This has got. Quick. Yeah.
So we've been in business for about 7 months, put all our investments into it. Right now, we're kind of a state, starting to create revenue, but also making plans to go for investments, incubators, anything, best place to.
Just come and talk to me afterwards. Look, for anybody here, I'm going to get you, I promise. I would, because this is a quick one, an easy one. Look, for anybody here, if you're scaling your business, you're growing your business, just connect with us. We'll connect. We know all of the right people. Sometimes it's not right for us. Sometimes we can't put you in the program. Sometimes there are better programs, but we know every program in LA. We know every accelerator. We know every incubator. We know who's good, who's bad, who's nice, who's not nice. We know all of the amazing experts who are here. We know who's right for your business depending on what budget you have, how desperate you have, and we do not take affiliate commission from anybody. So our whole principle of how we work is referring the best people. That's just what we do. So just come and talk to us afterwards. I'll happily help you out. And then last question, and then yeah.
Yeah, this is for all the filmmakers in the room. Basically, how would you use these services as a producer, an independent person, to get financing for your projects?
Okay, so we worked on a bunch of film, both major studios and in the indie films. So I would say one that we did, one of our team members worked on was a film called Miles Ahead. It was the film about biopic about Miles Davis, right, with Don Cheadle and Ewan McGregor and all that. They did something pretty smart for PR, and they did a crowdfunding campaign when they got a ton of celebrities come in and talk about how they were influenced. Everyone from the bass player of Metallica to jazz band players to pop stars, etc. And it kind of spread like wildfire, and they raised a ton of money. Now, did they need that money? Not really, but it was great PR, and then they had extra money for post-production, etc. But I think film financing is it's its own industry, right? I mean, you have to have the right connections. I don't know what budgets you're working, but one of our founders is a executive producer. Has done tons of big movies, but I know he goes to private financial, like he knows the people that can cough up $20 million for a movie. So I don't know. All I know about the film financing is creating a buzz around it is always good because it kind of gives you some leverage coming in. But it also, what it boils down to is which agents is involved, who's the director,
and
who's signed on.
Who's signed on? That's
actor,
big.
blah blah blah. I mean, it's a very complicated world.
Interested in this kind of arena because
Right.
the big technical companies, and if they're looking for like tax write-offs, and they can use that.
Well, something we've seen coming up is Lionsgate has been very proactive, for example, with involving big influencers, people with millions and tens of millions of YouTube subscribers, for example, you put that in a movie, you kind of have a guarantee of, you know, X amount of sales of, you know, or streams or views or whatever they do, right? So I think that's something moving into it, but I still think
I can throw one in here as well. Like we
Yeah.
have a company, and I'll move over to Donnie. Nobody's pressuring us for the stage, so we'll stay here for a minute or two. So we have a movie called The Coaching Movie that we worked with, and the Coaching Movie knew that they needed to raise like $700,000-800,000, but they didn't have any money, and they wanted to get a good producer, and they wanted to do it all about coaching. So they went to people like Jack Canfield. Probably went to Tony Robbins, but they didn't get him. But they got a lot of Jack Canfield's, who's like Chicken Soup for the Soul, for those of you who don't know them, which is a pretty well-known book. And they said to Jack, hey, you're pretty well-known. How'd you like to be in a movie? All you got to do is help get the word out to your audience that we're actually going to crowdfund this movie, and we'll put you in the movie. You can be one of our coaches. So they got like 7 or 8 people who were exactly the same as him, who had millions and millions of people who were in their networks. And then they said, and give us a perk as well. Look, we all know that your online videos are pretty much free because you just have 100 million gazillion of them. So just give a free video, which has got a $39.95 value if you take it today. And they had that as one of their perks. And they literally listed all these perks. And if you look at the crowdfunding campaign for The Coaching Movie, I think it got up to like $800,000-900,000. It was all done based on the influence that they initially built in. And then they went to other people and they did something which is, it's not more dubious, it's still fine, but it's more complicated as a producer, which was that they allowed people and companies to have almost, not corporate sponsorships, they were almost like ego parts, where they could be in a certain part of the movie or in a certain place. So I've seen myself, originally people used to come to us and say, we want to crowdfund. We do loads of crowdfunding campaigns. So they say, hey, we want to crowdfund and do this. And it's the hard thing about crowdfunding is the marketing and getting the marketing behind it. So it's super smart to be able to take all of these marketing drivers, which are costing you nothing, and they're big names, and they're big draws, and their egos are bigger than their ambitions at this stage of their lives. So you bring them in, help them draw the campaign. It was really powerful. Just look at their video, look at what they did. I think they're on their 3rd movie that they're producing on that same basis now. Donnie, what did you have?
This event here, last year, I met 4 producers. And I met some money people. So, this is Digital Hollywood. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the other rooms. Talk to people. Cinegear is coming up. Go to Cinegear and talk to people about your project. You just got to keep talking and you got to make yourself known.
And crowdfunding is a route, but it's tough. Over 90% of campaigns fail. You're looking at months of pre-launch for an actual successful campaign. We've done film projects that have raised 6 figures on Indiegogo. We've done tech projects that have done larger. So if you're looking 6-figure range, crowdfunding could be a route. But even that is tough. It's great. It's a great marketing tool, though. Crowdfunding used to be looked at, particularly equity crowdfunding, as companies who couldn't get, private money and things of that nature. But it's a great marketing tool. We went on for one of the projects to do their premiere releases in 5 cities, and then their digital releases, and the audience carries over in a very organized, beautiful fashion. And a strong recommendation I have, for crowdfunding, for B2B, for the prenup site, which I look at as more of lead gen and a continued process, is content marketing. Less than 2% of traffic converts on the first visit. You're not getting people the first time. I visit hundreds of sites a day. I couldn't tell you any of the sites I visited yesterday. You need to continue to touch people over and over and over and over again. Whether it's through email, whether it's through social, what have you, you want to set up these funnels to where you're getting their info and continuing to reach them until you're all that they can think about, because they will forget about you. Don't give up on 4 touches. Don will probably tell you on email, the more emails you send, the more open rate you're going to get. Like you want to touch people over and over and over again with good engaging content. Otherwise, none of it matters.
So let me finish with a couple of things. Firstly, a very good contact for you is Chad down there in Hacking Hollywood. He's putting together a database connecting investors with people who are looking to do movies or who are producing movies, right back there in the awesome tiki bow tie. Secondly, I want to again thank Victor Harwood over at Digital Hollywood for being a phenomenal partner, time and time again of Expert Dojo, allowing this event to happen, allowing us to bring in all of these people. I want to also be able to just let everybody just give their contact details, so you have the contact details, and it doesn't matter if you catch them now or afterwards. So Jason, you want to kick it off?
Yeah.
Just how they can find you?
Jason Fishman, spelled Fishman. On LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'll be here. I'm at Expert Dojo a couple times a week. Let's talk. I nerd out on marketing, so any questions you got, hit me.
Sweet. Nicole?
Nicole Levings, and if you want to email me if you don't catch me today, it's nicole@agencytk.com.
So nicole@agencytk.com. Christopher?
The easiest is Facebook. Christopher Krikori. You can search on Facebook. I do have a page.
How'd you spell
But
Krikori?
the email, it's info@dropwiser.com, like Budweiser, Dropwiser.
Oh, that's easy. Okay, so info@dropwiser.com.
How do you spell your last name?
Krikori. Krihkori.
Yeah, I would go for info.
Easy to find. Easy to find.
And that's the same if anybody wants to get access to the course as well. It's an excellent course. I highly recommend it. Don?
You can find me drinking a beer with Brian or at Expert Dojo, or my email is Don with 2 N's, because my mom didn't like Donald, DONN@connect, 2 all.com, connect2all.com.
Beautiful. Thank you. Sam?
That beer sounds good.
I'm an Irish guy.
I get
What
an
can I say?
invitation.
It's what I'm good at.
You can find me on social media, Sam Rusani, Rusani, or if you want to email me, it's Sam, SAM, @The Notable Group, so THENOTABLE group.com.
Okay, perfect. And if you've enjoyed today and you feel this has been a good paid forward gesture, then when you leave and today or tomorrow or the next day, just pay it forward to somebody else in business, because that's what this 2.5 hours have been. If you liked what we've done, then we always appreciate reviews on Yelp. If you think it really sucked, then Don's Yelp is...
Let's have a big hand for Brian McMahon.
Appreciate it.